We don't recommend anything. We just
say that we like it.
So what
Or that we've watched.
So it's okay.
We've seen things.
They just he pretends to be a doctor.
And it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. He pretends to be a pilot.
He's like a hustler,
doctor.
right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of like Fletch. You seen Fletch?
Kinda.
I have
Chevy
not.
Chase.
I love Chevy Chase though.
Dude, he is the most charismatic.
You know, it's funny. This is so bad, but I remember. I don't know if y'all have movies like this where you can remember the first time you saw them, right? Like I remember, like that's a small list for me of movies where I remember where I was in the moment I was with. I remember the first time I saw The Three Amigos. And I love that movie so much. I love it. Chevy Chase, Steve Martin.
That's right.
That's what when Oscar
It's
when
a
they
male
throw
plane.
when they throw the birthday party for Oscar, and Michael says, "Does this remind you of your childhood?" He says, "No, it reminds me of The Three Amigos with Steve Martin."
Everything.
He's like, thank you.
Yeah, he's like honored by that. It's like,
I love it.
Wow.
I love it.
You're so kind.
Oh, hey, is that the? Okay, maybe it's not. What soda is that?
Poopy.
It's not good. Is it not
No.
good?
No, it's good.
Poppy.
It's poppy.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Wasn't it on the Super Bowl commercial?
Well, no,
Didn't
that's
it
what
do
I
a Super Bowl
saw.
commercial? Yeah, that's what it was.
Sprite's trying to be
I didn't see it.
dethroned, right?
Yeah, but what's it called? Starry.
Starry.
Is it good?
I haven't had
You
it.
don't know?
Oh, he's so.
I mean, I'm not a
real.
big Sprite guy, but
He's
like,
so sad. It's just so emotional.
as soon as they started showing that commercial, though,
I
I
don't know
was
what's
like,
going on.
"Did you watch Super Bowl?
I did.
Huh?
I did.
Do you watch the commercials, or you like check
I
out
watched
your
the commercials. I watched like the second half of Super Bowl. I didn't watch the first half. Like
I
that.
think it was in the
Oh,
first half.
Yeah. All the good commercials were in the first half.
They
Yeah,
really
do.
were, and then they
They
just
do.
pieced them together.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good welcome, Johnny. To the
Hey,
podcast.
Johnny.
Hey, what's up?
That's a good
Thanks
first.
for
Sprinkle me in.
inviting me back.
That's a good.
We
Well, no,
sprinkling you in,
yeah,
baby.
you invited yourself.
It was good. I appreciate that too. That saves us a lot of planning.
It does.
When you invite yourself, it saves us a lot of planning. It saves us an invite
That's
stamp.
that's a good place to start. Though we're starting 2 days after the Super Bowl. Are the Super Bowl commercials like are they better than what they used to be? Are they worse than what they used to be? Are they just different and that's okay?
I think they're a lot less raunchy, and I like that.
You know, less raunchy.
Yeah, no, because
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
I
Do you,
think
do you like them?
I like them. I don't think they're as funny as they used to be. I think there was like 3 that made me laugh.
which ones?
I loved the Dung Kings.
Dude, that was awesome.
That was so good.
Killed me.
But how much money did they spend
For
on
Tom
getting-
Brady, Matt Damon, J Lo.
Like,
who was the
Tom,
most
you-
expensive of
But
them?
Tom, you can
That's the
stay.
question.
Tom, you can stay.
Yeah,
That was really good.
the most expensive.
Probably
That'll-
J Lo, right?
That'll come up.
Probably
on
J-Lo.
J-Lo.
I bet J-Lo's
That'll
was
hit
good.
the internet.
Probably
soon.
J Lo.
I guess
That
so.
one was my personal favorite. I'm trying to. There was the Nerds Clusters one that made me.
That was good.
That was pretty good.
I can't remember what the other one was.
Though
But-
I liked, and I'm a little partial to this because it's my favorite candy. I really liked the Reese's one.
Yes,
It just made
Yes.
me
the
laugh.
caramel on the Reese's.
Them just like throwing their head against the wall and jumping out the window. Like,
I
that
didn't
was,
see that one.
it was good. It was
For a
simple. but
limited
During the
time.
first half,
I
No.
didn't see that one. Yeah.
You know what I
I saw
told
the
my dad?
Nerds Cluster one though.
You know what? This commercial I loved, like legitimately. Did you see the Bass Pro commercial?
No.
Keep going.
There was just that's what I loved about it. Like there was no attempt to be funny. There was no attempt to be creative. It's just like a family on a boat and a smooth talking voice of like, for all your outdoor needs, come to Bass Pro. And
I
I'm like,
love that.
I love Bass Pro. Like
I love
so
that.
like
Yeah, dude.
like we're not jumping in this bandwagon of trying to be stupid or funny. Like this is who we are. We sell outdoor stuff. That's what we're gonna do,
It's
you know? And I liked it. I liked
We
it.
know our lane.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's a little weird now. I feel like this has changed in the past couple years of Super Bowl commercials, where like now, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger one with State Farm.
Oh yeah.
Like they were showing like pre-trailer commercials
Yes,
like
yes.
weeks ago for that,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I don't miss. I miss it as it was just like, hey, here's a funny commercial. Now it's like they have stories that
Yeah, they have to
build.
lead up.
Right.
The lead up to
Yeah,
it.
it's like
They had
Um,
that David Beckham one, but I never saw the actual commercial.
Wait, the Beckham one?
I saw the commercial.
You saw the
I
real
saw, like,
one,
a-
or
yeah,
the
I think I saw like
pre-
a clip of the commercial.
What
Like,
was it?
I
What was
just
it?
barely saw
It was a
during the Super
spin
Bowl
off of their the documentary
from Netflix.
Oh.
Yeah.
from Netflix.
oh yeah.
And but it said like stay tuned for the Super Bowl, but then I never saw it.
Huh.
It was a funny pre-commercial.
The Messi commercial was hilarious.
Yeah,
Just that Messi being in a commercial was.
I wonder how much it costs. I always
Dude,
wonder.
I can't imagine how much they. paid
I
them
remember
to do
I
that.
told my dad. I remember I was
pretty-
watching
that's
Shark
pretty
Tank one night,
expensive.
and Charles Barkley was like the guest shark. Are y'all big Shark Tank people?
Yeah,
Mm,
Shark
I
Tank's
know
cool.
of
I love
Yeah,
Shark
Shark
Tank.
Tank's cool. And Charles Barkley was the guest shark, and he offered a guy
Baby
like
shark.
yeah,
Dude,
he offered the
Dude, Brooks
guy.
did that the other day, and we don't even watch that movie. So I'm like, where did you get that from?
Oh, it's
or
everywhere.
the show or whatever.
But
it is.
he offered the guy. Charles Barkley said, I forgot what the money was. It was like $300,000 or something. And he said, I'll give you that investment. And he said, and I'll do like 5 or 6. He put a number on it. It was like 5 or 6 commercials with you for whatever. And Mark Cuban pipes up and he basically tells the guy, he's like, you have no idea how valuable that is.
Yeah, you need to go
And
with that.
so that was Charles Barkley for
Yeah.
that price tag. I can't imagine like J-Lo or Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
yeah.
just.
Tom Brady
don't
was
know.
in 2.
Yeah, he was in a couple.
Oh really?
He was in that one with Duncan, and he was also, what else was he in? He was in another one.
Mm-hmm.
The Dunkings was good.
He was in the.
no.
Oh, he was in the a gambling one.
Yeah, you've won too much.
Yeah,
Stop.
Vince Vaughn.
Tom,
You
you won
won
too
too much.
That's
You've won
pretty
too
good.
much, Tom. You've won too much.
That's
What?
pretty
Huh? You've won too much.
I like it. That's pretty good. So hey, someone did actually
fun.
ask a question. Well, first I guess we should. Johnny, we really are glad to have you.
Johnny,
back.
it's good to have
Thanks.
you.
It's
Yeah.
good to be back. I texted you guys. I need your number so I can just group all you guys whenever
You
I'm
don't
like,
have my number?
When you want on-
I don't
We
have
should
his
throw
number.
Johnny in
Yeah,
the
we're-
pastor's group chat we have.
Oh,
Gets a little rough and rowdy.
I mean, if
Are
you're
you
on,
yet to
serious?
text into
I don't
it.
text in it.
Do you read
is
it?
it just
though?
the First Baptist
No.
guys?
I stopped reading
So
it.
shout out to the boys. It's Nate Lynch. It's
Oh my
Noah
gosh.
Ashton.
That's
Eli
pretty
Blaylock
funny.
is in it.
Oh.
Eli's in it.
Oh, man.
Eli's in
Pretty
it.
funny.
David's in it, and then us 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
It gets a little. It gets a little.
I mean,
crazy.
it's I got in there on a day that they went in.
He got it
They
on the
went.
wildest day
I'm a-
possible.
Yeah.
I go in and go out. But when I
Yeah, when Steve.
Oh,
is in,
Steve,
though,
dude, Steve be fired
bro,
up though.
Steve is
Well, that's
in.
just
Steve
like
came
Steve.
through.
some
like-
of you get too serious, and I'm like, stop. This
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
in
Yeah.
moments we get too.
But I
serious.
like it though. But I like it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like it drives me nuts, but that's fun for me.
Yeah.
Is to see you guys, Eli, especially you.
What are y'all getting amped up about?
Oh,
Well, the other day we got amped up about it was
If you can say.
we
we
say
can
it
say.
was yeah for sure. We got amped up about raising hands in worship.
Oh.
yes.
It was, and I'm trying to remember what led into it. Oh, it was Nate. Nate said he was about to preach through a sermon series on just worship and singing, which I love. We did that years ago, and I loved it. And so I made a comment about one of the sermons I preached about just the emphasis of raising of hands and all that stuff. And then Eli
I
responds,
love it.
Where's what camera am I at right now? Hey, shout out to Grayson. Grayson, talk to you,
Grayson.
Michael, quick. Can we hear your voice?
Yes.
Hola.
Oh, we can hear it.
And hey, Grayson,
Yes,
if you
that is
notice,
it.
there's a picture right there of you.
Oh,
If
does
you
Grayson
click
have a
it-
camera?
If you click
Bro,
it, it
click
goes
to
to
it,
you.
click to it, click to it, click to it. Click to it. One time,
Oh,
one
that's
time.
fantastic.
Flash.
We're not going to go until you do it. Click to you one time.
It should go. You don't have to click.
There we
go. And now you just look
Producer
back at
Cam. Producer Cam. I love it. But no, Eli jumped in and he was like, where does the Bible explicitly command in singing to raise your hands?
Oh my.
And I was like, is that a serious question?
See, what's funny is
And
you know when
we-
somebody asks the question, where does the Bible explicitly? You're like,
Mm.
so you don't want to raise your hands. I get
Yeah,
it.
we
Okay.
went so we
Mm.
that proceeded to lead into a
I love
Wow.
it.
very long discussion.
It did.
Like very like
Mm.
it was a lot of messages. And
Yeah.
I will say I think we found the thing that Eli and I probably disagree on most.
What's that?
That
Yeah, yeah.
idea.
Lifting
Like
hands
I
and
was
He doesn't
like,
think it's necessary. He doesn't-
that's probably the thing that we disagree on the most,
Yeah.
I would say. No.
Wow.
Interesting. So
'Cause-
we'll see if
okay.
he actually watches this.
I mean, if that's like all
He
you guys
does.
disagree on,
That's
that's,
pretty good.
great.
He's
that's
gonna watch.
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
dude.
other things I disagree with. Like he likes the Falcons and the Falcons are terrible.
Every time
don't
I,
know if
think of
they're
the
gonna be terrible
Falcons,
next
I just
year.
think of the 5 touchdowns Cam Newton had against them
Yeah,
in
when we
the
were there.
2015, and me and you got a picture with Eli in the middle. Sad Falcons
Eli
fan.
was so
That's
sad.
so good.
And me and Johnny are around him just like cheesing so
We
hard.
love you. Eli.
It was great. It was great.
Poor Eli, man.
So hey, we can stay. Someone did ask a question about football related stuff, so we can stay on
Sweet.
football thing.
Foosball.
Just the question
Foosball.
was, what do we think about the Chiefs winning? What did we think about it? Is it rigged, y'all? Is it scripted? That's the
No.
question.
Hey, is the WWE scripted? I like it. It's funny to watch.
So even if it
Are
is,
you a WWE
cares?
guy?
No, but I.
Oh,
But if I'm
Nate
watching it,
Lynch
I'm
is a
going to watch
WWE
it.
guy.
If I'm going to watch it, I'm going to watch it. But I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it, even though I know they already know how
there
it's
might
going
be
to end.
some
Yeah.
It's fun,
stressful-
but I don't think it is.
Yeah, we
Oh,
cheering
yeah,
for the
it is.
Chiefs or Niners?
Oh,
Who cheering for?
100%, dude. Chiefs.
Yeah, you're a big Mahomes guy, aren't you?
Big Mahomes guy.
He's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
You were cheering for the Chiefs?
No,
Yeah,
no,
Niners.
no. I was
No, no.
cheering for the Niners. Wanted
I was too.
McCaffrey.
I
was
wanted
too.
McCaffrey and Wilkes.
I wanted Wilkes and
I like
McCaffrey
Birdie.
to get
Wilkes deserves it.
it. I agree.
Yeah, I was in a weird. I told Courtney this. I'm in a weird, and I know I'm sitting beside a Tom Brady fan, which drives me crazy about him. But
There you go.
it's okay. I I was always this weird thing with Brady where I didn't like him, but like it's so hard in the NFL to sustain success.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
no one can do that. Like other
Yeah.
than Brady and now the Chiefs. Like literally in my lifetime, I guess in our lifetime, they are the only two teams that have legitimately
Yeah.
done that. It's just
Yeah.
it's so hard. And so I was in a weird spot where I was like, I want the Niners to win, but gosh, I mean, winning 3 and 4,
It's
that's
crazy.
so
Now
insanely
are
hard.
we pulling for them to do a three-peat? Will they
Yeah.
be the only team to ever three-peat?
I don't think anyone's ever
No.
done it.
So
I think the Niners did it.
are you sure?
Google.
So I don't because I heard somebody say because that will be the
I
new
think it
thing.
will be the
Do-
only 3. I think it'll
Do
be
we
history.
root for them
I
to
think
get the
it'll be
three-peat
history.
so we
No.
can be alive when that happened?
Yeah,
No.
100%.
No.
100%.
That's
I'm
what
all
I'm
in.
thinking. I'm all in.
I'm all in.
And I will say,
I don't think anyone's ever done it.
Wow,
Yeah, well,
there we
there
go.
you go.
Okay, no, I don't want it to happen.
That's so-
And I think this is probably what frustrates me the more. And I realize I'm a Brady guy, and I'm a Brady homer, but like people need to stop. Like, lots of people have won 3 Super Bowls.
right.
Like a lot of quarterbacks.
I don't know though.
Yeah,
Troy Aikman.
Troy Aikman, Brett.
Not a lot have won them though.
So
by the time
close.
they're 28 years old.
Now that's the thing.
And he's
That is
dog.
the
Well,
he's
and
been in 6 straight AFC championships.
And
games.
when-
Like,
thing. True.
Well, okay, I could.
Keep going.
Do it, come on.
Brady,
This is what
Brady
we're
was,
here for.
Why
Brady
we're
was
here
an
for.
8, and he had this in his
Marino,
in his
my-
30s
my-
or in his
my-
early
It's
30s.
true.
He had 3 of what Mahomes has right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm not. He is the
But
best.
I know-
He is the best player on the planet. Like
is right now.
bar none.
Yeah, I agree.
It is unbelievable.
How
He
good he
might
is.
pass Brady, but this is like it's like when after
gotta
LeBron
find- I
won
gotta find
his
the graph.
like first 2 with the Heat, and people were like, "All right, he's past
Yeah.
Jordan," and you're like, "No."
Hang on.
I mean, there's
No,
I
I don't think he's past Brady.
Yeah,
I think he's on. I think so. This is the
it
playoff
was
stats.
dude. It was a
Playoff
different
stats before
game.
before turning 30. Okay,
This guy.
playoff
Here it
stats
is.
before turning 30. So granted,
Mhm.
Mahomes has played 4 more games. So granted that
Yeah,
he has 5,135 passing yards. Brady has 3,217. So it's only 4 more. It's 4 more games, but that would mean that Mahomes had to throw 500 more yards per game.
what
which
was
is
the
crazy.
average passing yards per game when Brady was playing compared to now?
I mean, Brady threw for 50 touchdowns in a season, so they were still slinging it in 07.
That was
That was 07. I mean, they were still
07.
flinging it. So this one's crazy. 41 passing TDs for Mahomes, 20 for Brady. This is wild because Mahomes has played 4 more games. 8 interceptions. Brady's thrown 9. Both are 3-time Super Bowl champs by the time they're 28 or before 30. Excuse me, before 30.
Okay.
Both are 3-time Super Bowl champs, and Mahomes has won the MVP 3 times. Brady won it twice. So I think like
Deion Branch took it from him.
I'm with you in that like I don't think he's there. I
Yeah.
think he is.
How much more traveling you got to get before you get there?
Brady's got 7, bro.
Oh, I know, but I mean,
That's crazy.
I
Like
know.
7
That's
is
true.
insane.
That's true.
If he wins 3 in a row, I
What was
mean,
it?
it's a
Yeah.
conversation.
Did you see
Yeah.
Did you see the? What was it? Years ago, Troy Aikman said something that he's wishing he could get back, where he basically said, "If he can do a third of what I've done," and basically somebody wrote back and says he's 100% there. Actually, he's 123%.
It's like he's already surpassed you, bro.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
Troy
Yeah.
Aikman's like, "Stop."
yeah. I'll say that. I'm cheering. Well, I'm in. Obviously, I'm cheering for the Panthers, but next year's not our year. I'm cheering for the Bengals because of my wife. I enjoy Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow, and so I would love to see them win it.
The Bengals.
But I
Mhm.
wouldn't mind seeing the Chiefs three-peat. I really like Andy
I
Reid,
want a
man.
three-peat.
I think
I do like Andy
that's the
Reid.
thing for me. I really like Andy Reid.
He is. Yeah.
Like Andy Reid.
He's the coach, man.
Yeah.
And see, that's where the second half in that game became. Yeah, Mahomes
Yeah.
he's a beast,
Yeah.
man.
Balled out, but
But here's it is.
his adjustments. and
The
such.
adjustments is what won that ball game for the Chiefs. Because basically, this is the thing about who's the coach for 49ers? What's his name?
Shanahan.
So Shanahan has
Kyle.
this beautiful, crazy, intricate offense.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, once you give them a half to see it, they can scheme it up.
Well,
So it's
Shanahan's also that's what the 3rd lead he's blown.
Yes.
Like he was,
So here's
In
what I'm
the
saying.
Super Bowl.
So
Becoming
everybody
a thing.
talks about how intricate and how wonderful and how creative it is, but yet in the big games against they can scheme you up and shut you down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
gotta
maybe you
make
need to
some
figure
adjustments.
something else.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they shut him down in the 3rd quarter. I think they bounced back well in the 4th.
I agree.
But I
They
think
didn't run the ball
I
much
feel
in the
like-
third quarter, man.
I don't know if this is, except for the second half of the 4th quarter, And then obviously and not even overtime. Like, I think the 49ers beat themselves.
Okay.
I think
yeah.
the 49ers lost that game. And the
Okay.
Chiefs didn't win.
Okay.
Like, if they didn't muff that punt,
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
like, I mean, the
story.
Chiefs couldn't score.
That's true. That's
It
a
was
good point.
crazy.
That's a good point.
I couldn't believe it,
Honestly, it gave me. Oh, I hate I'm bringing this up. It gave me so many 2015 vibes
Yeah.
where obviously the infamous Von Miller strip sack. You
Yep.
had that. And then everyone forgets the punt that
That's right.
where we thought they fair caught it, and the Denver guy turns it back to like the 10-yard line, and they
Yep.
couldn't score all day. And we gave him points, and I'm like, you
Dude,
just can't give him points, man. You just
Manning
can't.
had a noodle of an arm.
It was bad.
Like, he was throwing ducks.
It was really
Like,
bad.
it
Yeah,
was so
really bad. The fact that we lost that game
so
is just we gotta move on.
Okay, moving on. Moving on.
Jericho
moving on.
Cotchery caught it.
He did.
That was
catch it.
hey.
Anyways.
But
You know
what people
Manny's
forget
whole
too?
thing was I
That
just
was
don't
the
want to get in
play.
the way.
That was
Yep.
the play before
Yep.
Von Miller too. People
Let's
forget
get
that.
out of here.
I will never forget
Gosh,
that, man.
never
we will
forget
always
that.
remember. We will always
You're
remember.
because
I told
you're a baseball guy, right?
Dude, I'm
Or are you not a
I'm
sports guy at all?
I mean, I'm a college basketball, college football
That's
guy.
fine.
Oh, okay.
And by college basketball,
Go
I mean
Heels, baby.
the Tar Heels only. Really.
Go Heels.
Because college basketball is pretty
Them
lame.
boys balling.
But the Tar Heels, speaking and adjustments, they got to make adjustments
Is Trimble back tonight?
because they're getting.
Is Trimble back tonight?
I don't know.
Who do they play?
Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse
I'm
still
going
run
up
that
there in
2-3
2
zone.
weeks.
Are you really? See who?
Miami.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Monday night.
Good for you.
Nice.
Them boys balling, man. Okay. Hey, all right. I do
So
feel
that was
like
a question.
what's the question? Sorry. So we owe.
What was
a,
the question? Oh, are we for the
thought-
Chiefs?
No, it was thoughts on the game, and I'm like,
Okay.
it was a game. It happened.
Mahomes-
Commercials.
As soon as
I would've been
Mahomes
home.
got the ball in the fourth
Did you guys-
quarter,
go
I was
ahead.
like, it's
He
it's
does
over.
have the same Brady vibe. Like
You-
when
you
Brady
guys-
had the ball
you
last,
guys
I was like, "They're gonna win."
I heard on the radio Usher got married after the game.
I did see that.
No, are you
That was-
serious?
I
How awesome
wonder
is
what
that?
his fiance thought about him dancing
After
with
that
Alicia Keys.
performance. I was like,
Well, I
li-
wonder what Swizz Beats thought about Usher dancing with Alicia
That's
Keys. You know what I'm
true,
saying?
yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
curious
I
about.
was literally like Googling, are they together?
Because they were kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
sweet.
dude. Yeah.
Not
What
that
did
I
we-
not
Okay,
that I
so-
watched
So
it.
what did y'all think of
Not
it?
that I watched it.
What'd you think of the Super Bowl, the halftime show?
It was nostalgia for me.
It was
Yeah,
yeah.
there was a
I
lot
liked
of
it.
that.
I liked it.
High
I was a
school.
little. I was a little underwhelmed. I thought it could have been better.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Here's
I liked it.
Here's what I think. Could you imagine being grandma who's tuned into the Super Bowl to see their grandchild be a part of the halftime performance because they're on the field?
Mhm.
Mom, you got to watch this. There was so much happening. Grandma didn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
see
Dude,
their
there was a
kid
lot
at
going
all.
on.
Yeah,
It was-
Were
it
you
was-
even there?
It was
Yeah,
a
Mama,
circus, bro.
it
It was
was-
literally a circus.
It
I
was.
was like, how many
wild.
things can we throw people in the air? Can we have a marching band?
Cirque du Soleil, man.
Yes,
Vegas.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was.
Like, all
yeah.
they needed was
It
a
the
food
vibe.
vendor.
I mean,
Just
it
needed a
was.
It was
food
good.
vendor.
It was.
I enjoyed it.
I mean, it's
fit.
just hard to go wrong when he has one of the most iconic songs
It's
of
true.
all time.
When he
It's
did,
like you knew he was gonna end, it, and I'm so glad he did. When it was like dun, dun,
Yep.
dun, dun, and then he let it breathe for like one measure. I was like, yeah,
Yes.
that was so
Here we
good.
go.
That was,
So here,
that
but
was
you
good.
did you notice at the end when the final thing, everybody's coming on stage? I was looking at that stage going, that stage is about to fall.
dude,
He was shaking, bro.
It was bouncing.
I loved
it was crazy.
That was awesome.
I would say
man.
the guts. I saw this.
That
on
was
Twitter
hype,
after.
man.
The
I
guts,
loved it.
bro,
I actually loved
the
it.
guts.
The more I think about it, the more I'm like,
It's
dude,
good.
that was
Dude,
awesome.
the guts.
he's
to
like,
be
turn
on
it up. Let's
roller
do like a
skates.
moment by moment.
Yeah,
But he does
bro.
that- supposedly
The
he does that in
guts-
his Vegas show.
The guts to be on roller skates in front of 120 million
Yes,
people.
but he does it in his
Love it.
Vegas show. That's
And he
part of his
almost
Vegas
tripped.
show.
He did. He saved it well.
Somebody,
Yeah.
Will I Am or somebody like stepped on
he
him.
saved
Basically.
it well.
And that was going to be my one thing is improvement is replace the rollerblades with Heelys.
Oh,
It's a million
dude,
times
you
better.
take it to another level. It's more relatable to a certain generation.
That's right.
You know what I
man.
mean? There's a demographic out there who doesn't know what roller skates is, but they know
That's true.
Heelys.
That's
Dude.
true.
They know
That's
some
true.
He-
Heelys.
I like. There was a student at Five Stones that he was wearing Heelys not too long ago.
Wow.
And I was like, bro,
I love you.
where
for
do you
you,
where
man.
do you get them? Can I have them?
Let me get a pair.
I still think my favorite halftime show ever, and shameless plug, I rewatched it yesterday because it was on my mind. I love Justin Timberlake's halftime show.
Dude.
It was so
I don't
good.
remember.
Like it was just, I loved it. That was my
No,
favorite.
My favorite.
You need to clarify
Michael
which-
Jackson. was good.
Michael
You need
Jackson was
to
my
clarify
favorite.
which Justin Timberlake.
No, yes, I do. The one by himself, like a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's been in. He's,
Yeah, not that one. Not that one. Someone,
I'm like, somebody's gonna Google.
That's your favorite, huh? Tell us why, Justin.
not the 04
It's a core
one.
memory
Don't
for a
Google.
9-year-old.
Well, hey, that was the Panthers Patriots.
I
Super
know.
Bowl. That was
Oh.
Panthers Super Bowl.
I know.
Bro,
Um,
that was my first. That was my first Sunday
Not the 04
at
one.
Myrtle Beach Community Church before coming here.
Did you have a Super
That
Bowl
was
party?
my Super Bowl
Oh,
party.
you did. Good
We did
for
it in this
you.
place,
And that was before the Sports Spectrum
so-
halftime show
Hey,
videos.
yes. So literally, what
Oh,
we
it's
did was
too
during
good.
halftime, we did a Bible study. But
Oh,
in this
man.
place we were meeting, there were a group of adults watching the show. They were watching the halftime show, and we're just enjoying it.
You
And
heard
all of
them
a sudden,
gasp.
they went nuts. We're like, "What just happened?"
Can you imagine Twitter if Twitter would have been around
In
in
04,
04?
that would have been wild.
Oh my gosh.
That'd
Everybody's
be
going to look
absolutely
like, "What are they
incredible.
talking about?"
Yeah,
Don't
please
go.
don't Google
No,
04.
don't
I shouldn't have. But really, JT
You're going to
by
have an
himself.
entire, everyone's Googling it.
I think
No,
it was
no,
2017.
Don't
JT was my,
touch the
my favorite
button.
one. So let's just change the subject. I think this is the longest it's ever taken us getting a serious question, which was fun. I like
Wow,
it.
dude.
I do. Well, y'all know Johnny's got a few questions. How many questions you got? You said like 6.
Oh yeah, I got several, but we don't have to do them
Nice.
all.
How many you got?
I have 3.
Oh, we're gonna try to get to them all. We're gonna try to
Okay.
get to them all.
Go rapid fire now.
Hey, well, we got. If you got 3, let's just do. I'll do 1, and then we'll just rotate around.
Yeah, and
What
you know
can we
what's
go?
funny is every time during
And if
this,
Steve would participate.
I don't have questions.
Yeah,
I can think of questions students are asking.
That's true. But first, I do.
I never sent him.
Grayson, I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna out you for your question. Okay.
Good job, Grayson.
Well, if that's well, Grayson twice
Grayson.
now. Put yourself on the camera there so we can see your reaction.
Mm.
Twice now, Grayson has asked a question, and I forgot to submit it to. Now, granted, he's going out of bounds. He's not putting it on the Instagram box. He's like texting the individual.
That's not
Okay.
fair.
So I don't know if you want to defend yourself or not, but
It's just a personal.
So I
Are
thought
you
this
going to
was
his question?
I thought, yeah, this we're gonna do this question
All right,
first.
we segue
because
into
I
it,
feel
we're
like
just talking
I feel like we owe it to him. I think this is a really good question though. If marriage was created in and was in Eden, meaning the Garden of Eden, hence before the fall, I think that's what Grayson is hinting at, then why is marriage not in heaven?
Wow, that's a good question.
That's a really good question. I was so badly while y'all are thinking so badly. I preached on marriage last week, and I really wanted to do the Michael Scott
Marriage.
when he says it. Webster's dictionary defines marriage
As the
as
welding,
the welding of two metal
metals.
torches. And I think you threw medals, gold medals.
Gold medal.
That's also when he delivers the great line of, I think the most important line of a speech is the opening line. So normally I like to give 4 or 5 a shot to see which one's the best. That's a great one. Okay.
So here we
Anyway.
go.
All right. So
Why is marriage? Why did Jesus teach that marriage would not be in heaven?
Well, you know what we might need to read?
Because that's
is-
what we're referring to, right? Because Jesus teaches there will no be no
Well, that,
giving.
I was about to say
and
we
receiving in
we
marriage.
might need to read that, and I'll pull it up.
I got it on my thing too. Hang on.
Oh, is that on? You got it on
Oh,
the
you
screen?
can do
I
it on
can-
the screen, yeah.
Well, not yet. I'll tell you when I got it, Grayson. What verse is it? For the
It
people.
looks like Matthew 22. This is one of those things. I don't know if y'all had. I'm sure y'all did moments, and this was one of those moments for me when I remember when I was in school.
What verse?
Looks like it's 30. Verse 30, Matthew 22, verse 30.
I guess my main question is was there marriage before?
That's a good question. Explain your question.
Well, I would say real quick, if I cannot lose this thought real quick.
Okay.
I remember where I was.
Wow.
I just always assumed marriage was in heaven.
You assumed it.
Well, I mean, just
Oh,
like
yeah.
growing up,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone ever like
Articulated.
articulate that. And so I remember where I was in school in Dr. Chrysler's New Testament class, and we came across that passage, and I was like, "Holy cow!" Like I don't know if I knew that. So maybe someone is learning that for the first time.
Which isn't bad news, by the way. I do feel like we deify marriage, but that's another question.
So, yeah. No, that's
Explain.
fair.
What do you mean by deified marriage?
We treat it like it's the end all thing. And it's incredibly important, but it's not. I mean, your primary relationship is with Christ.
Right.
I love my wife. I am fleshly very sad I will not be married to her in heaven. But when we that's not anything that we hear about heaven is going to be the fullest of joy. There
Right.
will be
Right.
there will be no lacking.
It'll be
I
the
heard
fulfillment of the things we know here.
yeah,
I heard a pastor say there will be it'll be a place without want. Like you won't even have the desire to be married,
which is wild.
Right.
which is wild.
It's
And
crazy.
so, and I think we do a disservice when we kind of talk about marriage in such a way and then we get so angry that it won't be in heaven. We do a disservice to our brothers and sisters that are single. because they don't have a lesser experience here on earth because they're not married. It's just different. But
Unless
anyways.
there's a selfish reason why they're not married.
yes, for sure.
So
Yeah, I think not to pick apart the question. It's kind of weird because Grayson's in here, but like,
Dude, pick
If-
it apart.
is as why is marriage not in heaven? I would say marriage is in heaven, and it's Christ and His church,
the ultimate
right?
fulfillment of
And
the thing.
so it's
Types and shadows. Is that what we're talking about?
I
Is
think
that a thing? Is that what
yeah,
we're-
I was a little about to say is like I think you could argue, and I think I put myself in there. That's fine. I'll put myself in here for right now, and y'all can change my mind, or I'll change my mind later. Is like, okay, like if you look at Ephesians 5, you look at what the New Testament says about marriage, like it is a picture of Christ and the church. So
Right.
yeah, I think in many ways it should be a shadow. It should be an image of what the ultimate marriage will be, and that's Revelation 19, the marriage supper of the Lamb. Isn't that crazy? I think how amazing when we go to weddings, how much it just preaches the gospel.
It does. Or it
Mhm.
should.
Like
Are
you
about to
literally
preach right now?
I mean, dude, I kind of want
Let's
to.
pause it.
Like you just
In
have
the barn.
Hey, stop recording that
but
way.
like
He'll
yeah,
stop.
but like yeah.
in the barn.
But then you literally go and you eat
Wherever
together,
you are.
right? And it's just amazing. I don't think it's
So read the verses in
Um,
Matthew because I got it pulled up.
uh,
I want to validate me.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll read 29. But Jesus answered them. Well, they're asking about the resurrection. So the Sadducees, I think the context support because the Sadducees are trying to pin him against.
they
They're
are
trying to put Jesus in a corner, and so their Sadducees don't believe in the resurrection. That's why they're sad. You see,
Hey, thank you VBS for all of your good teaching.
Grayson just went.
Boo.
Oh my gosh.
Catechized by
Um,
VBS.
yeah.
Good job.
But it said, but Jesus answered them, "You're wrong." Because basically the question is they're asking him. It's such a dumb hypothetical.
You're wrong.
They're asking him, "Hey, if a guy keeps on remarrying."
It is a wild
Whose
hypothetical.
wife will she
Yeah, let's just
be in
read
heaven?
it. Yeah, let's just read it. It says, "Teacher, Moses says if a man dies having no children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first married and died and having
What
no
verse are
offspring."
you on?
Verse 25.
You're killing me, Cletus.
You went to the
Now there were
wrong-
7 brothers among us. The first married and died and having no offspring left his wife to his brother. So too the second and third down to the 7th. This is crazy hypothetical. After them all the woman died. In the resurrection, therefore, of the 7, whose wife will she be? For they all had her. But Jesus answered, "You are wrong because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. And as for the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what was said to you by God? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He's not the God of the dead, but the God of the living." That's sick. And when the crowd heard it, they were astonished at his teaching. Yeah. So that's the passage where we learn that okay, we're not married in heaven. Which I do think I will say this.
So-
I think it's okay that makes us sad though.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's okay. It makes us sad. It just also is an understanding that, like you said, we don't understand what it's like to not want.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Well, what was
Yeah.
the purpose in the giving and receiving of marriage in Genesis? There was a purpose behind that union, was to be fruitful and multiply. And only in the context of marriage should that happen.
Mhm.
And so, therefore, we are still before that. So basically, that's by God's grace, if you can. That's the thing. You come together for a union to not just for yourself, but for the bearing of fruit. And a marriage union bears fruit by having children if they can.
Yeah.
And then because therefore you're basically bearing fruit, and that fruit is the image of God growing on the planet, as opposed to well, it's just me and my wife, or we just want to be childless because it's cheaper. That kind of stuff is ridiculous, because
Right.
the purpose, if you can, by God's grace, hear me, by God's grace, if you can, be fruitful and multiply, because that is the purpose that it seems that God is saying here on this side. It's, man, be fruitful and
Is
multiply.
so the man who asked the question is in the room.
Yeah.
Let's ask him a question. Grayson
Oh, on the spot.
is
Put that camera on yourself, boy.
because it almost with the question, could you say phrase the question again the way that you would have it?
So because marriage was created in Eden, and Eden was supposed to be like the perfect relationship between man and God, why would marriage not be in heaven, since heaven's also supposed to be, or like the new heaven, new earth, whatever,
Okay.
because that's also supposed to be the perfect relationship.
It's a good question.
So because what it's like the underlying almost assumption is that heaven is like basically getting back to Eden.
Mhm.
Right? I don't think that's what heaven is, though. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think that's why. Yeah, I mean, you have in Revelation, the city will not need light because Jesus himself will be
Is
the light, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens. He said, "Let there be light."
Light.
So light was needed even then. You see what I'm saying? And so I think that it's a mistake for us because a lot of people do it. I think it's a mistake to think that we're supposed to bring it back to Eden, and heaven's going to be better than
He's
that.
making all things new.
Right.
Mhm.
It's
That's a good thought, man.
it's not a restoration of Eden. It's because here's the reality. Eden was temporary. Eden was
It's the
something.
surpassing of Eden.
Yeah, Eden
Mm.
was something that could be
That's a good
lost, and it was lost. Eden wasn't even really paradise. And so because paradise can't be lost, right? It is, yeah, right.
Shout out.
And so
Pinkwood
yeah,
Classic.
I think
Find
that's
it at
what
your
we're.
local Barnes and Noble.
I love it.
Dude, that's a good thought.
That's excellent.
That's
Yeah.
really
You
good
could probably just leave right now. I don't know if you can contribute
Yeah,
more than
so
that.
good.
Yeah, I've been waiting for the green light. I've been waiting,
That was good.
you.
trying to get out of it. No.
That's a good thought for real.
Well, I think that's it. I really do think that's it. And because then that answers all your questions about okay, because Jesus being what you were talking about, Jesus is essentially the fulfillment. It's a greater marriage. It surpasses, right?
Mhm.
It is that, and I think that's kind of like the underlying thing is, well, it was there. Why won't it be there? And I think it's because heaven is not supposed to be Eden. I mean, because you think about it. Here's what's so crazy. I actually preached on marriage last Thursday night myself. Wildly,
Oh wow.
right?
Look at
And
us.
Interesting.
here's what's so crazy because we like to think in marriage that marriage requires a lot of effort. The married men in the room, we can all say, "Amen." My heavens, it requires a lot of effort, a lot of pain. Here's what's crazy though. We all think that it required effort, and we know that it required effort after the fall. It actually required effort before the fall.
That's right.
It was effort and work that was neglected by Adam that led to the fall.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So in heaven, all of the effort and all of that, dude, that's not, it's just going to be, right?
Yeah.
And so it's entirely different, heaven and Eden, new heavens and new. So it's a different thing. Does that make sense? Is that sufficient for you? This is like the first time we've been able to say, is that sufficient?
He's just trying to subliminally plant in my head that he wants us to sing the song Eden on Wednesday nights.
It is such a good song. We need to.
Then-
Well, is that song about getting back to Eden though?
No, but it does mention the tree of life in the new resurrection.
Well, I think that's what is cool. It's like, I mean, I think you'd be reading it wrongly if you didn't read Revelation and get Eden vibes.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
get
Like you should get garden
Yeah.
vibes.
It
It
Garden
should bring
vibes.
you back, but then
but it's something better.
yeah,
And it's-
yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah.
Oh, well, my plea.
No,
You're
no,
welcome,
all
dude. I'm
jokes
out,
aside,
bro. I'm
that,
out.
all jokes aside, that really encouraged me. That was good.
Yeah, that was excellent.
That was
Wow.
good. All jokes aside, I don't even have any
Sick, dude.
sarcastic.
I'm like
I'm definitely going to
fired up
steal
now,
that.
baby. Fired up, man.
Johnny's gonna preach a sermon tomorrow.
Let's
night.
have a
Have a
good-
good, yeah, tomorrow night.
There you
I
go.
was wondering
Thank
what
you.
I was going to preach.
That's why
you know?
Johnny's here. Johnny's here to get ideas for what he's going to say
I
tomorrow.
was wondering what
Justin
I
will
was
give me plenty.
It's true. He will give you. There will be a sermon preached in this podcast.
Yes, at least one.
You're
We should
right.
do it over
That was
under.
one. That
We
was a
should.
lot
Hey,
more.
I have a question about something that I'm gonna let you go
Oh.
first. But I was gonna say we should do an over under on how many sermons Justin will preach during the podcast.
That would be
You're
so
already
good.
ahead of me.
Was that a sermon?
I would say so.
It was
I'd
just
say
a
it
thought.
was.
It was an
Was it?
illustration.
It's the best sermon I've ever heard on this
That'll preach.
podcast.
That'll preach.
Gosh, I hate that. That'll preach.
It's so good.
All right,
preach.
all right, go, go,
Johnny.
go.
Johnny question.
Oh, all right.
Johnny
I'll go.
question.
Man, that was good.
Okay.
I
Is this
might
from
cut-
one
I
of
might
your
cut- I
students?
might cut that
This
up and
is-
make that a little own.
Dude, do
So
it.
we did
Do what
a,
you gotta do, bro.
How
Shout out
did
to
you-
5 Stone students.
Good
FS
job,
students.
5 Stone.
FS
The
students.
best.
Love you guys.
I will say this.
Submitting
I will say
questions.
this, and I'm not saying this to say it because like we design stuff. FS students has the best church swag.
They do got some good
That's
stuff.
my favorite.
Mm.
I'm surprised I'm not wearing a shirt right now.
For real.
I wear FS stuff more than Johnny does.
You probably do.
Those two
so
shirts,
good.
man. I've worn those shirts out. Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
We got
hilarious.
we have some good stuff. So we did a Q&A night, Q&R question and response night. The other
Y'all
couple
so,
weeks
y'all so
ago.
trendy. Oh,
Yeah, man. Hey, you know what I mean? Hey, words matter.
Do you
We
have,
were
Words
so-
matter.
do y'all have a collection of sermons or collection of talks? What do y'all do?
Oh, sermons, and not a collection. Just we're still series,
collection.
Shout
not
out
a
to-
collection
shout
of
out to-
talks.
Bro,
shout out to
We're getting
I
there.
heard this.
Shout
I
out
heard this
to
thing
Vu.
yesterday. That was awesome. Keep going.
Anyways, so these were some of the ones that we didn't have time to get to because something that will be very relatable here. We normally end at like 8 and then they go to small groups. It was 8:20 and I realized that I was just finishing up my
Love that.
my question and I was like,
love it.
Love that.
we need to go. So
Say, see you later.
so there
See
you go. All right, so I thought this was a good question. How do you end a relationship that is pulling you away from God? And they do not qualify dating or friends. So I know there's some crossover that we could discuss there, but maybe if you have a particular thought about just a friend relationship or a dating.
I know what Brad will say. Brad will say, "Tell him God told me to."
Oh yeah, dude. Dude,
Just-
that's for those listening. That is the one moment that it's permissible to use the phrase
To
"God
use-
told me."
So what you're saying is
to
that is
end this with
that
you.
is not using the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah, that one's fair, dude.
We are
I'll
You're not
support
breaking a
that one.
commandment to get
Okay.
out of a
I
relationship you
support
just
the
don't
use
want to
of
be
that
in.
one.
Right.
we are joking.
That's
If-
so good.
if
I was like, where is he
legitimately-
going with this? How does he know what I would say?
If legitimately the person is pulling you away from God, meaning
Yeah.
actively saying, I don't want you to follow Jesus as good and hard as you are because it's affecting us. Because that's where
Yeah.
in time you're like, it's pulling me away from the Lord. Can you give me examples of how?
Hmm.
Well, they're actually encouraging me not to go to a youth group. They're actually encouraging me. They don't like it when I, want to read the Bible. They're actually talking against, okay, I get you. But if you just don't like each other,
Yeah.
that's using the Lord's name in vain. They're pulling
That's
me away
true.
from God because I really just don't like you. That's not pulling you away from God.
Yeah.
So if they literally are, so the question for me would be, from me to that person, please define what you mean by they're pulling you
Yeah, how are
away
they-
from
how are they
God.
doing?
Would you define peer pressure as pulling you away from God?
Define the peer pressure. Like, are they wanting you to have sex? Are they wanting you to do physical, intimate things that you can only do with your wife, and they really don't care
Mhm.
that you're a Christian and you've already told them that? Then I would say, yeah, they're pulling you away from the Lord and to themselves. That would make sense. But you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Is it though? Is it because the other side is in a lot of cases that person isn't pulling you away from God. You're pulling yourself away from God because you like them too much.
Mm.
In other words, it's your issue. It's
God,
not
he's
theirs.
good, dude.
Dude, this is a good
Okay.
podcast.
Dude, when are you guys
preach.
going to contribute? Because apparently me and Steve are on
I'm
a
fine
roll
just-
today.
Hey,
bro.
I'm fine just
They-
sitting
they
here.
read-
I didn't make any
That's
promises
good.
when y'all
Dude,
invited
that's so
me.
true, though. That's so true.
I
Think
brought a
about that,
question.
though.
I brought a question.
brought a
Okay, I
question.
did my.
So to that person, to minister to them, I was like, I love you, and let me tell you,
Mhm.
but are they pulling you away from God, or are you walking from God because you really
That's
you
really
found yourself worshiping them? Okay, you don't
That's not
necessarily
their
have.
fault.
That's not their fault. In
That's
fact,
such
you
a
may
good
have
question.
just repent
Yeah.
of your sin, confess it to the Lord, and then
Mhm.
confess it to them, and hey,
Wow.
continue to walk together.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's good, dude.
And that's hard with
That's
high
why-
schoolers and middle schoolers. I mean,
Yeah.
you
He's
find
struggling.
like you don't think about worshiping
That's why he gets
people.
paid the big bucks.
That's right, man. Uh,
So, but
all
yeah, you
the-
don't think
after
about
all
it.
these years, he's still just blowing my mind,
But
man.
think about it. But that's just it's one of those things.
So
just like
that's why he gets to sing on Sunday mornings too.
stop,
That's
You
Dude,
do
that's
too.
right.
You do
That's why he
too.
leads
That's
us in
right,
worship.
too.
That's why he's doing it.
okay, I'm sorry, dude. That was good.
But that's such a that's such a good distinction because we are so prone. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Keller, the Heart is an Idol factory.
It's big
Like
time.
it's just
I love that quote.
you made me listen to that sermon. I was sitting right in there when you
That's
said
awesome.
you're listening to this.
It's awesome. It's so
Um,
good.
No, because
That's
I'm
true.
with you. I think, dude, that's making me think because I think we use Christian cliches a lot
Mhm.
and stuff, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. Probably said that when I was in high
Yeah.
school, and I never thought about it in that way. That's a good way to think about it. It's a good. way
But
to
here's the
think about
deal. Here's the other part. If you really just, this is going to sound really selfish. If you really don't want to be in that relationship anymore, just own up and say, man, I think we're done.
that
That's-
is taking the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah. It's okay to
you
do
say
that.
God
If you
told
say
me.
God told me,
God
yeah.
told
You know what I
me
mean?
to.
It's okay to do that. It's
Right.
okay to say, yeah, I think
I'm not gonna lie. I think all wisdom is God's wisdom.
Mhm.
I think Moneyball has a lot to say here.
God, Moneyball,
Dude, such a good
Where-
movie. I
Such a
just
great
watched it.
movie.
A couple
I mean, in
weeks
all
ago.
like in
I'm gonna
all
watch it
in all
again.
seriousness, like
Moneyball's-
I told a student a couple months ago, they were about to break up with.
You
their
talking about
significant
when
other.
they cut the guy?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I told the student a couple months ago, I was like, dude, there is. I'm sorry, maybe there is a way, and y'all can enlighten me to this. I'm like, there's no way you can do this and it not hurt. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's gonna-
going to hurt. Like
it's
it
gonna hurt.
just is. And in Moneyball, that's for those listening. The reason I quoted it is
Those are the
basically
best
he
scenes.
how does he phrase it? He's like, would you rather? It sounds more, but I'm sorry. He's like, would you rather be like shot 10 times or just shot in the head once? And the guy's like, well, shot in the head once. He's like, you just got to cut him.
Would you rather get
Like,
stabbed
gotta do it.
10
That's
times
it.
and bleed out,
That's
or
it, yeah.
get shot in the head?
And that sounds really morbid, but I do think there actually is
It's your
some
options.
there is some wisdom.
Those are your own
There is
options.
some wisdom to just saying, man, I think this is run its
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And if that is a sin
Yes.
that you feel like you're worshiping him, confess that, it's
Right.
fine.
Mhm.
But just to be really blunt and really honest,
And-
and that in a way loves and honors.
And here's the
them
thing,
instead of
though,
trying
and
to do
in
the
the
soft
and
way.
in the mix, you've learned so much about relationships
Yeah.
through that
Mhm.
relationship. How
Yeah.
great is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on how close the relationship is,
Yeah.
you may not even need, like, if it's just a friendship or something, like, you can slowly pull away without, like, you don't. I also want someone, if they're asking this question about like a friend that they have in math class that they sit next to, like, you don't necessarily need to have a full,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, you're kind of to your point of like, are they actually pulling you away? Do you actually need to have this conversation? Is this just a person that you need to not
Right.
spend as much time with?
Yeah. Just yeah.
And that doesn't require
fair.
a full conversation. You
Yeah.
can
It's
just be
fair.
like, no, I can't hang out
You have to
tonight.
invite you out after school.
Yeah.
I can't go.
I think it's big.
Mhm.
I think Steve, you think you're right. I think that the thing that you said was really helpful with maybe you're idolizing the person and they're not actually pulling you away from Jesus. Maybe because sometimes it's maturity. Because we actually did we did a collection of talks. I love
I'm gonna start counting how many sermons y'all reference.
and I don't even mean to do it, but it's
He's
like
on two.
It's just
Habit.
literally like it
Habit.
just happened. Where the idea was the becoming thing, and it was who you befriend is who you become.
Yeah.
Right. But and that's a tension. Like it's going to happen. You become like those who you spend the most time with. Right. But at the same time, Jesus befriended sinners and never became like them. On the contrary, they became like him.
That's right.
And so as a believer, you have the power to befriend. You have the ability to befriend people who are far from Jesus and them
Mhm.
becoming more like Jesus, right?
Mhm.
But the ability requires maturity.
That's right.
And if you don't have that level of maturity, you're going to end up being led astray. And it's not the person's fault, though. And so I think we need to be very clear, like, hey, this is the whole cliche. It's not you.
Yeah.
It is me.
It really is.
And bro, I'm not mature. Like, because I think sometimes you need to not be sensitive. Like, if you're the person that's like, man, I just can't be around people that cuss. And it's like, well, dude, you're gonna have to go on to glory then, because you gonna be. Like, you think it's bad now. Wait till you're working in a cubicle when you're 30 years old, and everybody in
It's
your
flying
office
across.
suite
Yep.
is cussing up a storm
Right.
and saying, "Hey, bro, come look at this. Come, dude. If you, it's not gonna change. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like high school, middle school. That's only the beginning of.
Mhm.
And we can go further. I learned to cuss like a sailor in 5th grade, right? So it's man, I don't know. I think you need to be very clear on, I'm not mature enough.
Mm.
Y'all aren't doing anything,
Right.
right? It's not. I mean, yes, you might be in sin, with your language, with your interests, but dude, it's not you. It's me. I'm not
Yeah.
strong enough. I'm not mature enough to be able to walk in
Mhm.
such a way that I'm here for you guys and I'm
Yeah.
being a Christian influence on you. I'm not mature enough. And I think that's okay. And
Yeah.
but you need to be clear with like, dude, it's because I think if you end up severing the friendship, you sever the influence
Mhm.
a lot of times. But if you're not mature enough, you just need to
Yeah.
probably get out anyways.
I think to the person, and this is all I'll say on it. I think I'm growing in more understanding of I think that's why it's so important for our students to, shameless plug here, connect in small groups.
Mhm.
And to do that because when you do that, I'm not sure how y'all have it set up entirely, but like for us, like you start connecting and you're connecting with a leader in your life, an adult in your life. And I think this is one of those moments because every situation is different and every a 3-month relationship is different than a 6-month relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just is. A friendship is different than a dating relationship. And man, if you need to have some leaders, some adults in your life who've been down the road further than you, and just consult them on wisdom. Like, man, this is where I'm at. How do I go about this? Give me some advice. And I was talking with a student the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, I asked an older high schooler for advice," and I'm like, "That's fine in places," but I'm like, get someone who's been there before you, who's way further down the road. And I don't know. So that's what I would say to this person. I would say, man, if you feel like there's a relationship like that, man, maybe they have a good relationship with you, or maybe it's another leader at Five Stones, then
I think
get with them and
one of the
seek
things
wisdom.
one of the things you said reminded me of what God teaches us about being young. And so God teaches us that being young is really easy to be foolish and have foolish thoughts about everything. So therefore, God also teaches us that when you're young, you need to be attached to an older, wiser, down the road saint. And I think somewhere in the mix, when we're young, we think I'm good. But that truth stays. So if you're young, the most mature thing you can do when you're young, as a middle school student, high school student, whatever, is to continue to preach to yourself that you are one step away from stupid. So I need wiser, older people, because God said that's how this works. Yeah. But you won't feel that, right? And so that's the thing. Was like, and so how do you, like you said, are you attached to an older saintly person who's been walking with the Lord and wise? And so therefore, before you do something, you're always like, let me check with so-and-so. That doesn't mean you can't talk to your friends who love Jesus.
Sure.
But you're like, I want to talk to a couple other older saints and those people know that you're going to do that. And here's the thing that does, I think, is it trains the older saints to stay wise in the Lord.
Yeah.
Because you got younger folks coming saying, I need some counsel. Where do I do?
Yeah. That's good.
And there's some of the worst advice you can receive are from some well-meaning friends.
That's right.
That
and
just don't know.
They just don't know.
They just don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not. Yeah, it's no shame on them or anything. But
I agree, Johnny.
you just look back and that was a good word.
Good question. Good question.
That helps your person. Bradley.
Love it. Okay. Well, let me pull this up.
Brad was a guest preacher at church this past Sunday.
Was he really?
Yeah, well, hey, listen.
What do you mean guest preacher at church?
They'll call anybody.
What does that mean?
Try my best to be Justin Kemper.
What does that mean? What do you mean guest preacher where? What
He
church?
preached on a Whiteville this past Sunday.
Whiteville.
Shuck the corn, brother.
Oh, baby.
I heard the paint was just coming off the walls.
And it was lead paint, so people were getting all kind of...
Yeah, we was getting more than the Holy Ghost. You know what I'm saying?
Asbestos was falling from the ceiling.
All right. Let me. We want to do a fun one, or let's do a fun one because it got real.
That was two really good ones back to back.
I have two.
I wasn't able to
more.
bring it back to how all of this leads back to Eden, but I figured I'd leave that alone for him.
We're tapped out after that.
We'll
All
do a
right,
call
here's
back
a fun
at the
question.
end.
Fun question. Chipotle or Qdoba?
Oh man.
Oh,
Let me go. Let me put this in there. Somebody said this the other week. They said about Chipotle. They said, "I see you like Chipotle." They said, "I prefer to have at least a little food with my salt." And ever since hearing that, I can't untaste it.
at Chipotle?
It's just salt.
Is it too salty?
It's
at
just
Chipotle?
salt.
Oh.
You get a bowl at Chipotle, you taste
It's a salt lick.
sodium, son. like it is so much salt, bro.
He said sodium, son.
It's wild. Like it's wild, and I can't untaste it. I don't think I've ever had Qdoba. I liked Moe's when it was around.
Me too.
Like,
Moe's
I
is
liked it.
around.
Mo,
Is it
welcome to
still?
Mo.
There's
one in
one up.
Monroe.
Well, there's one up near
In
Five
Monroe.
Stones.
There's one in Monroe.
Is there? Okay. Yeah, I liked
They
some
shut
of
the
that
one-
Moe's.
Sun
some-
Valley one's
Well, you've
closed.
never been to Qdoba?
No, I've never been.
Where are you from?
Whoa. Was it
From here.
Qdoba or Qdoba?
Qdoba.
See, that's how you know
How
I
big
don't
is the
know.
Q?
I
How
say-
big is
I
the
say
Q on the
Qdoba.
sign?
Dude,
It's gigantic.
The Q is huge on the sign.
I said Qdoba.
Qdoba.
Yeah, I don't know. I had never
That's
been.
that Indian Trail
I've
stuff.
never
Say
never
Qdoba.
been.
I love
I,
it.
On the
Never
other
been.
side
You
of
need to go.
74
Is
now.
it like the same as Chipotle?
Basically, a year ago I would have said Chipotle, but I'm a Qdoba guy now. Qdoba does better for like gluten-free stuff,
They do.
and so Courtney has to eat there.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
plus I went to Chipotle.
Where's the K in that?
Bro, I went to Chipotle a couple months ago, and they were running that special where you could. I saw a commercial for it. you could order the quesadillas online.
Yes.
Okay, online.
You can only order them.
I didn't know.
special.
Okay, listen, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. So I walk in. I walk in.
Oh,
There's
can I get
no
that
one,
online
wait,
quesadilla?
there's no one behind me. There's no one in front of me.
Yeah,
it's
you
just
can't,
me.
they won't do
And
it.
I said, yeah, can I get the steak quesadilla, please? And the lady said, you have to order that online.
Yep.
And I look behind me, and no one's behind me. I'm like, you tell me you just can't make it over there? She said no.
Did you
And
cause a scene, bro?
No, I kind of did. I was like, so if I step back there and I order on my
Yes.
phone, you can make it.
Yes.
But I can't order here. And she said,
Correct.
no, I'm sorry. And I'm like, that is so stupid. And
Okay,
so I ordered a bowl.
You
and
know
I
what?
left.
As a matter of fact, I actually kind of, I think low-key I have a vendetta against Chipotle.
That's true.
Because you say stuff like that. They're absurd.
They're
Listen,
so-
They are absurd.
we had
Just
there
because
was
your
a-
commercials are
listen,
great doesn't give you
there
a
was
reason
a,
to
there
be
was a
involved.
catering
That guac
order.
has never ever looked like that in
Never.
person.
Bro, look.
But it is mouth-watering every time I see it.
we had a catering order for Chipotle. I called the location, and
We just
one,
lost their sponsorship.
it doesn't go to the location. It goes to like headquarters.
Yes.
And then headquarters then sends you to catering headquarters.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, why do you even put
Yeah.
the local business phone number on the
like, I wanna
website,
call
on
the
the
one
internet?
in
I'm trying to talk to
Matthews.
this individual, and I want to say, hey, are y'all gonna have the order ready by this time? That's all I wanted to know. And like I said to the person at headquarters, I was like, I'm just calling to see if my catering order will be ready. And she goes, well, sir, I can't tell you if it will be or if it won't be, but I can tell you whether or not you placed it. And I'm like, is this like, what are we doing? And this is Chipotle, ladies and gentlemen. This is Chipotle. So no, what?
so I
On that
guess
note,
we're Qdoba.
never had Qdoba or
Well, wait,
Qdoba,
I-
but I'm a
I have some,
Qdobian.
I have some,
What you
I
doing?
have some thoughts, but Steve, what's yours? What's
Um,
your preferred?
I like
He's Sabor.
I love
Dude.
Sabor, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Sabor
yes,
guy.
that's the correct answer over
That's
all
the-
of
that's-
these.
Sabor
it's
is
Sabor.
awesome. But I would go with Chipotle.
I like
I like
Chipotle.
Chipotle.
I still like it.
Because even though their guacamole doesn't look like the one on the TV,
It's
it's still
good.
delicious.
It's good.
Okay, what were your thoughts?
I will not to play the middle, but it really does depend.
Mm.
Like I know there are certain. It depends on the Chipotle you go to.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard as well.
There is one that I'm thinking of that I
Well,
can
just say it, man. Which one?
do. The one in Waverly.
Good.
Is-
I'm sorry. No.
Yeah,
It's
do
terrible?
not.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Oh no!
Mm.
And I'm sorry if anybody works there, but
Fix it. If
like,
you work there, fix it.
fix it.
Make
Now,
it
don't
like-
apologize.
it is,
They're part of the problem.
It is.
You guys
I'm
need
with
to,
you.
hey,
It is.
do your
I've
job
only
is
been
better.
there like twice,
What
but
do
It
you
it's
is
mean?
not.
slow.
Go to bed earlier.
They give you like no. They give you like no meat. The last couple of times I've been gone, gone by there. They're out of veggies or something. Like
Oh,
I'm like,
God.
what are y'all doing? They take forever, and so a good Chipotle bowl is
Yes.
greater than anything that
It really is delicious.
Qdoba has to offer. But Qdoba is more consistent, and they give
Mm.
you free queso. So
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah, yeah, good on.
okay, I'd probably say on the scale Qdoba.
That's cool.
But
All right,
liked
last
that.
one.
That was
is,
good. Are you gonna go serious
it's a
again?
good one.
No,
Good.
is Valentine's overrated?
Yes.
Yes.
Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not really into it actually. I was
I-
trying to think if I
it's
was.
a-
I was. I
I'm gonna
wanted
say
to
yeah.
be like, because you guys so quickly said yes. I wanted to be like,
No, I'm gonna say
no, it's not.
I'm gonna say
but
yeah.
I'm not even.
It's
I'm
the
not into it.
biggest money grab. Just kind of. You should be doing stuff that you do on Valentine's Day consistently if you're
Mhm.
if you're in a loving relationship.
Yeah. What's the story about Saint Valentine?
I don't know.
In their story, Eli.
Should we call him?
No,
Did you listen to the
God,
podcast
dude.
when we
I
called
bet
Eli? Did you
you-
get to the end of it?
What?
We called
Jeez.
Eli
Oh, so
on it,
good.
and
Yeah.
he actually like talked over the phone
Eli,
about the
I'm-
story when
Eli-
Saint Nicholas
yes.
punched Arius in the face.
That was a
Remember?
highlight.
Yeah, it was
Yes,
pretty.
it
It
was
was
The
so
pretty
Greek
good.
god Ares?
No.
God of
Arius,
war?
Arius. It was pretty good.
Boom.
It was pretty good.
Santa fighting the god of war.
What a
Is your
story.
microphone wobbly?
No, I'm just messing with
Okay.
it.
Are you gonna pontificate
He's been, like-
on Valentine's?
No,
Day?
I'm just. I think it's a little overrated.
Yeah.
I think
just-
I can go over it. I like giving people an excuse to like go out on a date night though.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do like that.
I do think.
Certainly when you have kids, because it's like, hey, can somebody come watch the kids? And they're like, oh, it's like for Valentine's. And you're like, yeah.
Sure,
And they're like,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, maybe
I
I
like
see
that.
I
Maybe
can
it's
see
just
that.
chill because we're married now. But like, I
Maybe.
feel like
Dude, high
I
school,
feel like
it
it's
is-
less of a big deal
Holy
like
deal.
now than it
High
was
school.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you want to
Yeah.
have a Valentine.
Yeah. How about
that's
this?
true.
Yeah.
So when you guys were in elementary school and you did your "Will You
Dude.
Be My Valentine's," did you have to do one for the whole class? So you didn't
Yes.
make
Oh
it-
yeah,
They're
you have
making
cards
you do
about it.
that now.
So
They're
ridiculous.
making you do that now.
That is so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, so is
Like,
upper basketball.
participation
If I don't
I'm
like you, I
sorry.
should not
I'm
give you a
sorry,
card.
Matilda. I'm not giving you one because you spit in my food. No, you got to give Matilda one.
Did
I'm
you have a
like,
girl named
oh,
Matilda?
No, I didn't. But Matilda's a great
Grayson
name.
has
Grayson
thoughts.
has something.
Yeah, but
to
oh,
say.
man.
I just have historical
Put
context.
the camera on.
Oh,
let's
he's
do
got
it.
historical
You
You
context.
can't
Yeah, put the
you can't
camera
drop historical context and not put the camera on you. That's a rule.
Historical context.
That's in our bylaws for the podcast.
So he was never married. So
Say
it
no.
was just because he was kind that they do all this like kind stuff for people. And the reason that we did it on the 14th was because he was beheaded on the 14th.
Whoa, I love that.
So what
not bad.
happens when
I
you're
like
really
Valentine's Day
kind
more
and
now.
loving? You might get beheaded.
So are y'all gonna do a bunch of Christian pickup lines on Wednesday?
No, but now I'm
I
thinking
did.
about it.
Well, I
Yeah,
did
that
think
should.
about. I'm preaching in
That would be
chapel.
fun.
I'm preaching in chapel tomorrow,
Yes.
and
You should do
I
some
did think
Christian
about
pickup
saying,
lines.
think about how many corny, like Christian youth group sermons are going to be preached tomorrow night with
tomorrow.
Valentine's Day falling on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Mm.
It's going to be
I'm-
bad.
I'm preaching on how not to be an antichrist. Basically, is what I'm doing. So
Love
it's all
that.
good.
If I was a
That's
good
great.
youth pastor, I would have preached last week's sermon this week because it was on marriage, but
That's
You didn't tee that one up well,
I
did you?
didn't. That's it.
You need to work
I
on your
just-
collections better.
I need to collect and organize better.
Yeah, your
Um,
talks.
Yeah.
Organize your
The
talks.
only good part about Valentine's Day is
Aren't
the
you
Reese's
doing a
Hearts.
podcast on this too?
Huh?
Come on,
I
man.
know.
How to preach.
I have a lot
Dude,
to learn.
shout out your new
I had-
podcast.
That's
Shout
really
out. Yeah,
good.
dude,
I mean,
do it.
I
He
wasn't
did
gonna-
it.
I wasn't
He
gonna
did
say it. I wasn't gonna say it.
It's
We
good.
did. We
Go
did.
into podcast mode.
People
People
have listened to it, man. It's been kind of cool.
Give your thing.
I've listened.
You want to get my spill?
Give your thing.
Yeah, preach.
I don't know what it is. I've like
Make
I
the
saw, like,
time
this-
Oh, you
Sam.
not listen to it? Oh,
Justin, shameless plug.
Justin shameless plug at the 55 minute.
That's
No,
We've been
so-
talking for 55 minutes.
Is that not insane?
Good
um,
Lord help
y'all are
us.
too much fun.
I just love you guys.
No, so what I did start one. It was I was just telling Johnny. Me and Johnny ran into each other at Starbucks before I came over here. I was telling Johnny when I was out for Crosby more, it wasn't a vacation as y'all know, but it allowed me to think about things like on a bigger scale, like what direction were we going in, kind of things like that. And I was able to think about some of those things. And I've had the thought a while where I'm a big preaching nerd. Like I love like the art of preaching and just the technique of it and different styles and all this stuff. And if you search preaching podcasts, right, most podcasts are, hey, this church posts their sermons.
Mhm.
That's most of them. There are some that are geared towards like the actual like art of sermon building and are more like, you know, in the weeds, like how do you build a sermon, how do you do stuff. There's some regards to that, but not many. And none of them are in the specific field of youth ministry. Well, then on the other hand, and y'all know you know this, but like youth ministry podcast, I'm not saying this is bad, it's just this is what it is. So many are geared towards vision and creating sustainable teams and volunteer, all this stuff, small groups and stuff. And that stuff's good and that's great. But like I legitimately, I have not found one podcast that is geared towards student ministry and geared towards specifically preaching in student ministry. Certain episodes, certain podcasts will have episodes on preaching or teaching, but nothing that's geared in that way. And so I was kind of thinking about it, and it's funny, I don't normally do this, but I kind of quasi just pray and told the Lord, like, hey, if I can feel like I get 20 episodes that I could do, I'll do this thing. Like 20 directions to go in, 20 themes, whatever. And pretty quickly, I feel like I have 17. That's now 18 because episode 3 is going to be actually a 2-parter. And so just about the direction, it's just about preaching in youth ministry. Just, what I'm going to argue for is preaching through books, expository text-driven preaching in youth ministry. And hoping to get some interviews with, I've already talked to Johnny. I'd love to get you on. And even you being young adults thing would be good. But just
even you,
I don't believe you.
even you. But it's
given
been
the
cool.
sermon of the podcast,
And shout out to some people who've given me feedback already that they really appreciated it. And because I don't think there's a lot out there. And so,
God,
yeah.
dude.
Well, so this is kind
This
of
is amazing.
well, you know what though? This is true, and
It's
this
an
might
honor
be
to
a
be
low
with
bar.
you.
Thanks, man. This might be a low bar, but I mean, y'all know this. Like, there's a ton of youth guys out there, and no shame on this at all. But youth guys who have not had any theological education, right? They got involved in the church. They felt the Lord called to ministry, and like the natural progression is student ministry, which is cool and fine. And so they're either working on stuff or school, or maybe they haven't been able to do that yet, but they find themselves in a place where they're teaching every single week. And I don't know. I think if it can encourage one or two youth pastors to, as I talked about in episode 2, like begin to see themselves as preachers and
Right.
stop smiling at me, but unapologetically.
I think this is. I'm just so proud of you.
Thanks, man.
And I
Yeah,
think it'll
so-
help. It'll help some too, because I know a lot of student pastors that use the curriculum,
Yeah.
Oh,
like they
yeah.
use Orange or
Yeah, and they
Grow
teach
or
through
whatever.
stuff, yeah.
But even to think critically about that
What
in
you're
ways
doing.
that you can change
Yeah.
it. When I started at Five Stones, we had Orange.
Yeah.
And I like Orange. Like, I think there's a lot of really great content there. But there was a lot of stuff that I was like, I need to
Mm-hmm.
tweak this some. I need to beef this up some. And
Yeah.
so I think even like I think it'll be encouraging for people in that vein of, because like so much of what I've seen about like youth pastors and preaching and everything is like, they'll say, hey, come buy this curriculum, come use this. We prepared it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
And because sometimes they maybe they don't have the experience or the degree or whatever.
Mhm.
And so they feel like they can't do what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Right.
which I know is part of the point. But like even just if you start where you are, not where you think you should be.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard people say that a ton. Shout out John Mark Comer. Will not be the only time I mention him on this podcast, I'm sure. But like even if you start with that, like how can you create that to be even more exegetical, to
Yeah.
dig deeper into the word, to dig deeper and draw out the truth of scripture, not just the general kind of platitudes that, I mean, again, these organizations are incredible, but they're writing for 80 something denominations.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's going to be awesome.
I'm excited
real.
about it. I mean,
And plus, I mean, and I don't think I need to tell anybody at the podcast, like Justin's a
He's a,
fire preacher. So
Yeah.
like, it's not as though it's like some dude being like, I got this preaching podcast. And I'm like, are you sure?
Thank you.
I
Like,
was listening. What was I was
well,
listening
thank
to?
you.
To a guy, and I'm still thinking through this because I was reminded of your podcast when he was saying this. The preaching of the word is more than just a talk. It's
Mhm.
more than just a teaching and a lesson.
you're
there's-
saying I can't call them collections of talks anymore.
You can. I like it when you do it. But the preaching of the word, for lack of a better word, I think, or maybe this is the word I need to use, and this might freak some people out. There is something magical about when the word is preached in a room,
Mm-hmm.
that it does something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, which is probably why some people are intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Because maybe we don't realize it, but that thing is an intimidating, magical, creative thing.
Yeah.
And so when you stand up and you say, "Thus saith the Lord," and you preach and you do, there is something happening
Something
in that
happens there.
room.
Yeah.
And if you're not intimidated, I kind of have
I
the conviction
agree.
you kind of should be.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there
it's
should
right.
be
a
a
healthy fear.
holy
That's right.
Yeah.
fear of,
That's right.
I have this
That's right.
in my hands and I've been called. I love how you talk
Right.
about in the first one, like we are called to be preachers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that.
and now that's
And here's the
like,
thing.
that's a
And,
responsibility.
and because that does not come from you,
Yep.
because God has established that's what that is, you can do that knowing that's going to take place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's right. Not to. Well, Brad's not here, so we'll wait until he gets back. But like, not to. Oh, damn it! We go listen to the episode. Even if you're not a youth pastor, I think it'd be encouraging. But that's what the first episode of really content I did. This technical episode 2. I gave 3 reasons why youth pastors need to preach, and the one I'm most passionate about was the third reason I gave. Where, to me, the distinction I made was in teaching. I think the difference in teaching and preaching, same side of the same side of a different coin of the same, different side of the same coin a lot of times, but there is some distinct differences. And what I argued was teaching is, hey, I'm laying out these facts for information's sake, right?
True.
Preaching is, yes, I'm laying out facts, I'm laying out the truth of God's word, but there is an exhortation and a push and a
Yeah.
challenge to the way I said it is respond in worship and respond in obedience, right? And what I argued in the podcast is I posed a question to the listener. I was like, do you think the world is teaching certain ideologies or the world is preaching ideologies?
Mm.
And I think the world is preaching ideologies.
Yeah.
It's I mean, the example I used, not to go 0 to 100, but the example I used was like take the war on gender right now, right?
Mhm.
Our
Mhm.
culture is not just saying, hey, here's this stuff to be informed. Our culture is saying, no, here's stuff to be informed. Now you need to put your pronoun in your bio. Now
Right.
you need to have this amount of friends that identifies this. Now you need the world is
If you've
preaching.
never questioned, like,
Yeah,
your
oh, that's a
own,
great
like
thing.
there's been students that have talked to me about like,
Yeah,
I never thought that I would even potentially wrestle with this, but because like
Yeah.
everybody's telling me I should,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's like
Wow.
It's a
Yeah.
cognitive dissonance of
Yeah.
like, no, I'm actually sure of myself, but everybody's telling me I'm not.
Yeah.
So
And so that's where
Yeah.
I said youth pastors need to
That's
preach
awesome.
because the world is preaching to
Yep.
you all the time.
Yep.
So we need a
so
faithful
then,
man of God.
so then
to
the
preach
question
word of
is:
God.
has there been in the history in the recent history, how many times? Because I'm really asking this: how many times have we heard that we need to do less preaching and more teaching and communicating?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
because
that's the premise of the podcast.
Yeah,
I
it's
can
like we need to
I
know-
can still
back to
see
preaching.
I can still see
Yep.
an article that I read, and I quote this on the podcast. Is and he was talking about things that youth ministries need to move away from. And I still remember his number 4 thing, because I was waiting in the episode I set it up. I was waiting for the punchline. I was waiting for the joke that literally it was youth ministries need to move away from preaching. And I was
Yeah.
like, is this
I've
dude?
heard-
I was like, is this
I've
dude
heard
being?
that
I
quite
was
a
like, is
bit.
this dude being serious?
and
He was.
And
He
he
was. He
was.
was being serious, and I could not disagree more. So we don't have to rehash that, but go
Yeah.
listen to it.
There's-
So what
it's
you're saying
literally-
is, it affirms this: where the church fails, it opens the door for the world to take
Mhm.
advantage of it.
Well, and I heard we're about to. You can count this for one for me.
Come on,
That we're starting us. We started last week a series in Ephesians, and I've been planning this for 6-8 months or something like that. And I listened to a sermon from Matt Chandler on. It was one of the passages in Ephesians, I think Ephesians 4, and I loved what he said. We don't have to go to a temple anymore. We don't have to live in Ephesus anymore. You are scrolling through Ephesus.
Oh, that's good.
We are steeping in it.
That's
we are
good.
being lulled to sleep by it. And Ephesus was a sexually perverse and, temples, prostitutes, and all that other sort of stuff. And so, but that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The conversation about
So,
moving away from preaching
yeah.
and student ministry, that's one that I've been,
so
wrestling.
what now? Sidetrack.
Yeah.
So by you saying that, which is so true, how many times have you? Well, our students today are having to deal with things they've never had to deal with in life. It's like,
It's a different form.
but it's on
the
every
same.
corner. You're
Yeah.
swimming
Yeah.
in Ephesus, first
And-
century.
And no, and not being coy, it does go back to the garden. Like Satan doesn't change his tactics. Or I don't know how to say it properly. Like he,
Same message. Is true.
same messages, different tactics.
Perverts
Or-
the perfect, perverts the good.
Yep.
So-
did God really say?
That's
Yeah.
right.
My
Ooh, good
counselor
one.
was like, every sin in your life goes back to that.
That's so
Yeah.
true.
Did God really say?
Yep. And
So
where
it
did you
does.
learn that? Where
So
did you
it
learn that?
does go back to Eden, and I want that to be clear.
Stamp right there. There we go. It does.
So thanks for the shameless plug. So did you send it to a youth pastor? Brad?
I don't know any youth pastors,
Okay.
Bud. You're the only one I got.
Thanks,
You're the
bud.
you 3.
No, there's a difference between
You're the only one
there's
I
a
got.
difference between I don't
And
know
I'm
any youth
serious,
pastors
actually.
and no more youth pastors will talk with me.
You weren't
Yeah.
in Whiteville and like, guys, I know I got to dig into the word.
I need some
but I
more-
got a friend.
There's a podcast.
I need
There's
a
a
friend.
podcast.
And will y'all
Yeah.
be my friend so I can send it to you later?
So
Oh.
preaching and youth ministry podcast, if you care, it's on YouTube
Whiteville.
too. Yeah. Okay. Cool, Johnny. What's your question, bud?
All right.
Thanks for the shameless plug, y'all. I wasn't gonna do it. But
Yeah.
It's a good podcast.
I wasn't going to do it, but I
Anytime.
was looking for an
I was
opportunity.
looking at
Anytime.
for a window.
Anytime.
when the Lord closes a door,
shoot
he'll
your
open
shot,
a
bro.
window.
Shoot
I
your
mean,
shot.
listen, bro.
I thought
If
this
you're
was
open, you're open.
I thought this was a really interesting question. And well, I'd say I probably have at least 2 more. I think one of them y'all have addressed several times on this podcast, so I may not ask it, but I think I have 2 or 3 more. How do I put trust in God so that I don't stress out about my life and where it is going? And I want to be like, when you find out, let me know. Like,
Yeah. If you know the answer,
yeah.
please share.
If somebody has a surefire answer, be sure to let me know because I will follow the steps.
I know I'm walking into a joke from Brad because he's gonna joke about me
Am I?
preaching.
Oh gosh.
But one of my favorite passages in Psalms is Psalm 42 and Psalm 43.
Hold on, I'll get there.
Where I'm just going to talk while you pulling up. Psalm
Psalm-
42 and Psalm 43. It's the famous "As the deer pant for the water, so my soul pants for you, O God." And
43 or 42?
42 is that one. As the deer pants for the water.
So what's
And
the
then,
verse?
It's one of those. I don't know.
It's in there. Trust
Okay.
me.
Boom.
But
I don't know which one.
But you know, we quote that verse, and I think we get like a cute little Lifeway picture of a deer beside a brook, and that's what we like
I
this-
thought that was
like
that was
this
actually
weird-
it for a second. When you
awesome.
pointed at it, I was like, oh, that's the one.
But when you read through that psalm, I mean, he's talking about like he literally says, "My tears have been my food," and I think that's in verse 4. I mean, or verse 3. I mean, crazy intense stuff. But Psalm 42 and Psalm 43 go together because I think it's verse 5, verse 9, and then verse 5 of Psalm 43, where he says, "Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why are you Why are you in turmoil within me?" And then he says this. He says, "Put your hope in God, for I will praise him, my Savior and my God." And the statement that I made when I talked through that was, you will place your hope in something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to the student, you right now, you are placing your trust in something or someone. And so the way I said it in the really preachery way for Brad is, where you place your hope is a decision that you make. It's not necessarily a feeling that you enjoy.
That'll preach.
And that sometimes, like, man, putting your hope in God, that's an incredible
It's not bad.
feeling,
It's true.
and it accompanies that.
True.
That's amazing. But not always, man, is that a feeling of goosebumps, and
Right.
that's not always the quote unquote last night of camp feeling. That sometimes it's, I don't feel it. I don't think the psalmist felt it in Psalm 42 and Psalm 43, but it's a decision that he's making. And so
Yeah.
I would encourage a student, and this isn't a really flowery answer, but it's just discipline yourself. Understand about yourself. You are going to place your trust somewhere.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
discipline yourself to place your trust in God.
Right.
I'll say that to get the ball rolling.
I want
but know you can answer that.
to chime in. Were you about to chime in?
Chime in,
Yeah,
bud.
but you go ahead.
Would you like for me? I want you
Yeah.
to do it first.
What?
Let's Rochambeau for it. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna pull a Steve and just
That was
basically ask.
Just
Yeah, that was
walking
some
in
great
the camera.
podcasting content.
weird.
They saw it. Hopefully, did you have the
If you're
camera
on the
on?
audio, they just play rock paper scissors.
Yeah.
Twice
Love
because
it.
we
I
tied.
just wanted to see who would go first there.
But
Give them more context.
I'd pull a Steve as I'm processing this
What?
question of who. Not, I'm thinking of blunt. If I was actually talking to the student, I'd say this nicer. But who told you that there would not be stress? I mean, Jesus literally says, "In this world, you will have trouble."
That's right.
Sure. Yeah.
Like,
But
I have overcome the world. Hallelujah.
Woo!
Glory.
So good.
Glory.
So good.
Let's go.
But why we have a pain avoidance problem
come on.
in our culture. And I do too.
You saying, like, I don't want to feel pain.
I don't want to feel stress. And I'm like, man, you girl, guy, whatever, like, you are going to feel stress. I think that is the precursor to exactly what you just said of disciplining yourself to place your hope. Man, I think of Elijah in 1 Kings 19, I think. I'm not going to be able to quote it verbatim, so don't bother pulling it up, Steve.
You're good.
But where he runs for his life in fear and terror at what the queen has, Jezebel and Ahab have threatened him for, and literally says, I want to die. And then God says, I'm going to provide what you need, and you're about to travel 40 days to the mountain, and that's where I'm going to meet you. And I think that's, like, he never says, oh, I'm going to take away your stress. I'm going to make sure. I mean, he gives him promises of, you're going to be triumphant, and, this king and queen, like, Elijah knows the promises of God, I can imagine.
And he just saw something amazing happen on the mountain.
Literally, he saw something unbelievable.
Right.
But he faced a moment of crisis and stress and anxiety and fear and all of the things. And then he was suicidal.
That's right.
And he ran. But God met him there.
That's right.
And I think we have this idea, and this would lead to a bigger conversation, but, like, we have this idea that if I'm feeling stress, God is not with me, or God is not working, or I'm, even in some warped way, like, I'm sinning.
Yeah.
But that's just not always, that can be the case. Like,
That's
there
true.
is consequences of sin, and stress can be involved in that.
That's a good word.
But, like, like, we've just been so, the idea of when Jesus says, I've come to give you life and life abundantly, we have just been so conditioned, yes, thank you, by our culture to think that that's success and calm in my life, and no mental, no physical, no spiritual battles.
Right.
And that's just, that's just not the case. I think it's important that when we face stress,
right.
not how do we avoid
Right.
stress,
When we do it.
but when we do it, where to your question, does your soul pant? Are you, hungering, as David says, like, I hunger for the word of God.
Yeah.
Like, is that where you go? And I think that's what gives you assurance, and what Jesus talks about at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, and building your foundation on a firm foundation. Like, I love that song, but I want to like preach after it and be like, it's not just like you just stand there, something like you need to be actively moving toward the foundation. And just because it is your firm foundation and you're standing firm doesn't mean that the rain is not,
That's right.
you're not drowning,
Yeah.
like or feeling like you are. And so
how do you marry that? And I'm not asking.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like where Jesus says in Matthew 6, "Don't be anxious about anything."
Yeah.
So I think that's the tension for me on it, is like, if someone is, if you are living in a state of, I am stressed out all the time
mhm.
and I'm anxious all the time, then how do we marry the two, where like I just quoted Psalm 42, Psalm 43. So I think that is a real state that we can be in,
Mhm.
but also hold into account Philippians 4. Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything with prayer and supplication, make your request be known to God, right? With
right.
thanksgiving. Or
right.
Jesus in Matthew 6. Don't you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, how, like, is that just like, I don't know, is that just like a thing we're just constantly holding? You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, and I mean, I'm just thinking
out loud.
I'll kick it back to my counselor who talked about that, of like, we would talk about that, and there are time, like, I think, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything submit your request to God. Like, submitting your request to God does not immediately take away the anxiety. The question is, will you wait on God until the anxiety is relieved?
Right.
And I think we just have such a short fuse sometimes. I mean, Jude talks about that, like, the one who is able to make you stand
Shout
in
out
the
to
Jude.
presence.
Jude's
Like,
such a good.
short little, just basically doxology.
Yeah.
But like, to the one who is able to make you stand. So if you don't stand, like, does that mean that God has not allowed you to stand? Like, I think there's, like, we even with this question, and I've asked questions like this, like, we're looking for a formula, and there's just
Right.
not one.
Yeah.
Right.
We're looking for the way to say, all right, this is the way that I will not be anxious the next time XYZ happens. And I think, do not be anxious about anything. The passage in Matthew 6 of consider the lilies, the sparrows, all that. Like, I think the question that is being asked, first of all, I think Matthew 6, Jesus is proposing how things should be, not that we will never quite attain, but
Sure.
like, how do we have the trust in the Lord to say, all right, when this stress and anxiety comes, am I going to try to mitigate my pain myself?
Right.
Or am I going to wait on him?
Which I would say goes back to even this. Think about this. Have you ever been around this, just senior adults who they walk with the Lord, and those things don't seem to worry them that worry you as a young person? I think that's another reason why it's like they go, man, I know how important that was, but I just want to let you know in light of this. And there's something about that. And I would even say that the struggle that draws you to the Lord is good.
Yeah.
And so why would we think that God wouldn't pop us with struggles when we can realize he sustains us and he gives us goodness?
Yeah. Let me say, so, man, my thoughts are a mile a minute.
Yeah, mine too. Y'all are making me think
that
so
fast.
much.
That fast.
Dude, yeah.
They're going a mile an hour.
Isn't that great?
That's so good.
I love that.
Shout out to the office, Michael Scott.
So, no, I mean, I think stress is a theological problem. I mean, that's what Jesus was getting at in the Sermon on the Mount when he was saying, like, do you not know how much value you are to God?
Yeah.
Like, so the cure for anxiety is understanding your identity as a child of God,
right,
and understanding the goodness of your Father,
right,
and that he clothes the lilies, that he feeds the birds, that
Yeah.
he does this. So why wouldn't he do this for you? So what I would say to the person who asks a question like, how do I put my trust in God so that I won't stress out about my future? You need to become acquainted with God's providence. And you need to, I think, to me, there is nothing more important than that.
What do you mean by providence? Define that word for those that
So
like. I hear that word, but I don't know.
providence, the way that I would define it is slightly different than the way that other people would define it.
Okay.
And for me, it is God ordains and orchestrates everything that comes to pass
Okay.
here on earth. And so with that, it's a comforting doctrine that God is that in control of everything.
Everything.
And I would say that you need, because it's always, to me, and it's a theological problem. It's always a theological problem, and that doesn't mean that you just all of a sudden you start thinking rightly. Your emotions, like your emotions, need to catch up, and it takes time. You know what I mean? But as far as stressing out about your future, you need to become acquainted with God's providence and see that, okay, He's done this in my past.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't He do it in the future?
Yeah.
And then you also need to, just all sorts of, basically, you just know the God of your future, and know who He is, know His attributes, that He is just, that He is holy, that He is love, that He is good, that He is all-knowing. Like, think about that one, dude. All the comfort you can draw. That's a wellspring of life for you if you're worried about your future. God knows what's best for you. He knows what's best for you. And then you wed that together with the fact that God is loving. He's going to give you what's best for you.
Yeah.
And
He's
so you have to
accomplish it.
understand, okay, that may not look like what I want it to look like, but is He all-knowing?
Right.
Yes. Logical conclusion of that. Does He know what's best for me? Yes. Is He all-loving? Yes. Does He love me in Christ? Yes.
Yeah.
Therefore, He's not going to withhold that which He thinks is best for me. And so you can think about your future. And that, do you understand what I'm saying? And I think that's why we just, not to give such a dry answer, but dude, that's, I truly think we stress about our future sometimes because we don't know our God like we should.
You go.
Rock, paper, scissors.
No, you
That
go.
was a really dry answer.
I
For
think
the audio listener,
the
I
only-
was not here for that.
So I have another thought that I can share after Steve, but I guess the only question, if stress is a theological problem, and maybe I'm reading too much into that, how do you square that with the Garden of Gethsemane and the stress of Jesus? Because I think
There's
I
a
believe
difference between anxiety and worry and stress. And so if I did that by saying stress, I would try to put them in that originally. I was trying to put them interchangeable, because I would say that worrying is a sin.
Because let me take a shot of this, and you guys help me, because you said that's a really good question. Because my thing is, the reality Jesus knew was coming.
Right.
He knew every aspect of what was about to come. And yes, ultimately, that wrath of God poured out on him. Something physiological happened from that.
Yes.
We worry about stuff we don't know about that very likely won't even happen.
And that's why I say it's different because it's not, well, Mark Twain said, I've worried about many things in my life, most of which never came to pass.
That's so true, dude.
Right?
That's so true.
And I think, and that's why
good.
I would say worry is a sin, because you have the explicit do not be anxious about anything but in everything. So it's a command. Do not do this. That's God telling you, do not do this. So if you do this, you're doing anti-God. Right?
So when I preached on Philippians 4 before the school
I'm just
year.
keeping the count.
But I literally,
between the two of us,
I love you.
but I literally,
we're going for. I was going to say Overrunner was 2 today. We were well.
We
above.
blew it.
We were
but
well
when
above
when I got to that verse, I was like, don't shoot the messenger. But I said, the Bible says, don't be anxious. And I think our initial reaction is, well, that's impossible. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what
Right.
the text is. Here was my take on it that night. Since we're already there, let's go there. My take on it was, I think so many of us live in a way where we are, whether subconsciously because it's just the way life is now, or maybe intentionally because, yeah, I'm gonna say this carefully, but maybe we like it more than we admit it. We are fueling the flame of anxiety in our life. Where I told the example I used, and sorry to pick on the ladies, but I mean, you could do this interchangeably with the guys, but the example I used, I remember, was, our students, like a great example, our students, I've seen sometimes, like, they'll go to Five Stones for a night or whatever.
Yeah.
They meet a girl at Five Stones they've never met before. They follow her on Instagram. They've met her one time, but now they follow her, and they have a window, quote unquote, into her life. And her life looks amazing and it looks awesome. So now a student who doesn't even know who that person is comparing her life to a girl that she knows nothing about and would have never met and would have never had any connection with at all. And what that's doing is to me, it's like this, it fuels this anxiety that we have in our life of like, well, my life doesn't have this and my life doesn't have that. And I wonder that the image I used that night is, it's really easy to stamp out a spark. Like, it's really easy to stamp out a spark, like a little flame, or blow it out. It's a lot harder to put a wildfire out. And I think when the Bible says don't be anxious, some of us, we have been fueling that fire of anxiety so much in our life that command seems impossible.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because for so long we've just been, and I know it's bigger than social media, but we just fuel it. It's,
I don't know.
But
if
think
it
about
might not
this.
be. It might not be.
What did
But
you
we've
say?
been
One of the
fueling it.
qualities, one of the characteristics, attributes of God is He's all knowing. Guys, He's the only one who can handle all knowing.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is
Yes.
we want to know
Yes.
everything
Yes.
about everything. Guys, we
Yes.
are not created
Is that
to
not like
handle
to
that.
take it back to the garden?
Yep.
Hey, you will become like God.
Which is
You will
why everybody,
know.
You will
because
know.
here's the thing,
we were
right?
not meant
Isn't
to.
that
so
wild?
we were
here's
not.
we
meant
were
to
not,
know.
and it's a gracious gift
Yeah.
of
The
God to
title of
say,
the
I'm
episode,
the
it all comes back
only.
to the garden.
But think about that. But think about that stuff, because how many students, I think, their biggest fear is I'm missing something. I need to know.
Yeah.
I need to know what's going on with the 3,000 people that I think are my friends.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yep.
You are not,
Yeah.
and you cannot be God
I mean,
because He's got that.
yes, because back even when we were in high school and towards early high school, like, if you weren't with friends, you just didn't know what they were doing.
And it was so
now
free.
It is
So free.
entirely
You
all
got
consuming.
FOMO all the time.
I know.
It is. I don't know if y'all
Constantly.
watch the social. Is it the
Yes,
social
Social
Experiment?
Experiment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Dilemma.
Dilemma on Netflix.
Yeah,
And
it's good.
I mean,
Yep.
and I remember this one specific part that I was like, man,
It is
that's so true.
insidious.
They took it more from like an evolutionary perspective, obviously, but I think nevertheless what they were saying was true. Was they're like, literally for all of human history, you have had to know and quote unquote care about a really small
Yep.
group of people.
Yep.
And outside of that, who knew what was happening at Weddington High School? Who knew what was
Yeah.
happening at Portage? And now it's all of a sudden you know all this stuff. And I think that's where, in my estimation, when we see that command, don't be anxious, we're like, yo, that's impossible.
Yeah.
And I
There's
wonder if
so
it's just
much.
because we've cultivated and stoked that fire to be so big in our life.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems impossible when, I don't know, it's heavy. It's
There
heavy.
definitely, there definitely is a huge element of that.
Yeah.
And we don't have to keep going, but I know it was my question. So just one, I think two last
last
things.
comment. Yeah, last comment.
I think one, I do think I would push back. I'd have to chew on it a bit more, but I do think I would push back on that all anxiety is willfully sinful, that it is like you are sinning because you are anxious. Because I do know of those that it is not it is a neurological, like there is chemical imbalance that requires, now what brought that?
That was what I was saying.
There is sin.
Sure.
That's why I say it's not willfully sinful. It is the result
Okay,
of
good point.
sin.
That's a good point.
Like I think there are results of sin that
Yeah.
lead to anxiety, and I do think there is willful,
Right.
sinful anxiety.
Absolutely.
But I would definitely say that if it is something that it is compulsive in your life, and you have continually been trying to find ways for it not to dominate your life. Like, again, I can only speak from my experience. Find a godly,
Mhm.
Bible-believing adult preferably for me, counselor that
That's a good word.
loves the Lord, that is able to objectively speak into your life and say, no, that is not anxiety that, you know, you just struggle with anxiety. You know, you are bringing, to your point, like you are bringing this on yourself. You are
Right.
stoking the fire by
Right.
some of your rhythms. And there's people, going back to the friend question, like there are people that try to speak into our life of do this for your anxiety, do that for your anxiety, and it's like they just don't know. And
Right.
so I think, yeah, if it's a huge issue, I do think we have to be careful of overplaying it, because then everybody struggles with it. To
Right.
your point, I do think that's been a bit of an issue recently, as mental health has been such at the forefront of the conversation. But I think I would need to chew longer on all anxiety is willful sin.
Yeah, because here's the thing. This is where because there's also a move that things are really not your fault. It's your disease.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
here's the thing. Some situations,
Yep.
your disease was caused by you.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe some people are addicted to anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
they
would- yeah.
willfully have a connection and a chemical thing because they fostered that in some
Yep.
way. Just like somebody who has the disease of
Man, and-
alcoholism,
right.
or bro, you
Yeah.
fed that for. Well, now here's the deal.
Yep.
So practically speaking, we got to start to unravel this.
That's
thing.
it's taking every thought captive.
That's right.
Yes.
So
'Cause
start.
If you think a certain thought,
One bite at a
there are
time.
like the pathways. It becomes like a rut.
Yep.
And so you stay
Yep.
in that, and it gets deeper and deeper.
Mhm.
And to use the fire,
Yep.
it's a wildfire at that point.
It's a chasm
Yeah.
in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and it is, and that's where it is. Like a lot of times, is it does become chemical, and so I
Yep.
do. It's so let me say that.
Yeah.
If you need
Yeah.
medication, get medication.
Yeah,
I'm
yes,
not
yes,
anti.
yes, yes.
A
I
grace
am
gift, a
for
gracious
it, dude.
gift of the Lord to
It's
help you start unraveling.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Is to
Exactly.
help you.
It can help you in that.
It
Process.
doesn't. It's not less than a spiritual problem,
right.
but
It's not
or
only-
how am I
know what you're
supposed to
saying.
say this? Like it's not less than a spiritual problem, but it
it's not
certainly
only.
can be more.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Because
and I will-
ultimately, what some people are hearing is, well, it's not my responsibility. It's
Yes.
my disease.
Yeah.
Don't do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Don't be very careful with that.
Yeah, and with some of the worst is probably too strong of a word, but some of the worst culprits of that in fostering that in students is their parents.
That's a strong point.
Because
That
I
burden.
think a telltale sign of
My
that
kid has
is
this.
if you have several adults speaking of this is the
There
direction,
we go.
and you fight against it because you say my child has XYZ anxiety, they might. And please know, I mean, Five Stones First Baptist, I know y'all, like, we want to care for you. We
Right.
want it to be a place
That's a
where
good
you
word,
feel
Joey.
comfortable and loved. Like, we are not doing anything, but anybody will tell you, like, if you want to be
Right.
healed, like, you got to go
Right.
through some pain first, and
That's
that's
right.
going to cause you to be
Right.
uncomfortable.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
But it's necessary
That's right.
for healing. So
Yeah, that's a good word.
there you go. That was
Amen.
probably the longest
Really
question
good.
That's
yet.
okay. That's good.
It's a good question. though.
We struggle with it
Timely.
too, man.
So
Yeah, I was
timely.
gonna
though.
say. I mean,
Timely.
I get anxious where I work.
I mean, I
Dude,
literally the
yeah,
other
no
day. This
kidding.
is, and I know, but I mean, just the other day, 2 weeks ago, I unfollowed a youth pastor. Not because the guy was bad.
Unfollowed?
Yeah, not because the guy was bad. Not because the guy was in it. But literally, the guy, the
Did
guy,
he say he didn't want your podcast?
but the guy has 2 kids. He's about to have another one, and he's
Mm.
always posting about like what he's doing
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, dude, like, am I like not doing enough? Am
Yeah.
I like? And that was starting to like seep in. Like, man,
So
should I?
true.
And I just unfollowed.
So you started.
Yep.
So
I just
what it
unfollowed.
did was
Yeah, man,
you basically turned from the sin of coveting because you knew that was coming.
Yep.
Like I don't think I'm as good.
I've
I'm
had
not
to
as
do
good at
that.
that as that guy.
I've had to do the same thing.
Yeah,
My family's
just-
not as
and-
good as that family.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, it
I had to-
so for the listener, it affects us too, man.
I was-
like,
I had to stave off a panic attack like 3 days ago.
Really?
Like just doing breathing exercises
Yeah.
to help my body regulate, but at the same time just breathing in, breathing out scripture and prayer. And
Good
I'm
word.
like, it's both like
Yeah.
melding it together.
Yeah.
And for lack of a better word, because
Yeah.
this is not. It's not like a magic trick
Yes.
paganism.
Yes.
It works though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah,
There it goes.
no, it does, man.
Because
It
God
does.
said that's how it
Eventually.
works.
God said it does.
Eventually.
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 And that's the
Yeah.
Guys,
we
it's-
hate that.
I know.
Yeah.
Hate that word.
Eventually, it works
Yeah.
Eventually. Yeah.
because God said this is how we deal with that.
Next
All right,
question.
let's shift directions.
Yeah.
My question is, it's fantastic.
Oh,
The question is,
Build up.
betting, ... Is it chill? Question mark.
Is it
Excuse me?
What does that mean?
Betting.
DraftKings. If you have a
Betting.
gambling
Because
problem,
yo,
Is that not the
Oh,
craziest
the old
thing?
North State, bro.
They
March,
have to say it.
March, it's coming. We're
That's
gonna have
crazy.
legalized
BET?
sports gambling.
Bet?
Yeah,
Bet?
betting.
I thought you said bed, like
Betting.
betting, like your
Betting.
like your
Betting.
duvet, and I'm
Too
like,
many,
yes,
I love it, dude.
too many
sweet
pillows.
man.
I love
Too many
it.
pillows
Good
on
for
the
you,
Too
bed.
many
bro.
pillows.
Good for you.
Stop with the dust ruffles.
Like how high
We don't
is your
need that.
thread
We don't need
count?
the ruffles.
No
We don't
ruffles.
need
No
that. Yeah,
ruffles.
yeah.
I need to. I don't need to see. I need to see under my bed.
Betting.
we love. I mean, I feel.
I
I
guess
feel
you
like
could say-
good.
You say
Are you
gambling.
saying-
Good Baptists love.
you
They love to
saying-
hate on gambling.
Are
They
you
love to
asking
hate
the
on
question
Oh,
whether
my
Christians
Lord.
can place a
Bet.
bet?
That is what the question is
Holy
asked.
crap!
It's
I was
according-
not prepared.
It's according
for
if they
this.
do. Sure,
It's-
then sure.
I
Sorry. That's sorry.
I don't know. I used to be like, no.
Preacher Mike still sitting in the corner.
Yeah, we want to.
No, there's no chair.
We
There's
want to
no
get a
chair.
cut
Good
out
job.
of preacher here, so he's always watching
That's
us.
so funny.
But I know I let this person remain nameless. They don't
Good
go to our,
thing.
they don't go to our
They're
church.
shaking.
But
It's Eli.
it's not Eli.
Hey,
You-
But he enjoys like
raise your
like
hands and
going
worship.
to a casino, playing blackjack or betting or whatever, and doing stuff like slot machines. He
Special
enjoys it.
place in hell
But
for
here's
that,
but here's what he
brother.
does. Here's what he does. And I'm like, dude, yeah. Here's what he does though. And I'm like, I don't know if many people have this discipline. He
Yeah.
will have like two separate pockets, right?
Smart.
And he'll go in with $100. That's what he goes in with. And he is not like he's okay with betting, gambling that. And if he wins money, sweet.
Great.
If he's never going to be out more than $100.
Right.
And I was like, I just kind of
Huh.
pushed back. I was like, how he enjoys the
To the glory of the
enjoys
Lord.
rush, whatever.
Amen,
but
brother.
then-
You
but he
better
told me-
tithe on
but-
that.
But this is what he said.
You
Yeah.
do it in faith.
But hey,
Do it
but
in
this is
faith.
what's weird though, because
Hey,
it's
you
weird.
do it in faith.
He's like basically what he said to me. He's like, you love playing golf. He's like, he's like, if you pay $60 for a round of golf, would you do that? And I said, well, it depends on the course. Like, yeah, I would pay $60.
that's right.
Yeah.
And he said, I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
I'm taking that $60 and I'm
Yeah.
just remaining very disciplined.
Yeah.
And so like if
And there's a
if
joy
that
in the
is it-
discipline. There's a joy in the
Yes.
discipline. Because here's the
Yeah.
thing: when you're playing a sport,
Mm.
the discipline of it is what's actually enjoyable.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, even for him, not only just the fascination of, it, but the discipline of saying this is the standard,
Yeah.
which really is a thing of like, Lord, I have boundaries because you've given them to
Yeah.
me. I want to glorify you in watching that.
Yeah.
Right.
But-
I think it's all those same lines of like alcohol, where
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lot of Christians think that abstinence is the only form of self control.
Yeah.
And that's stupid.
Yeah.
It might be for you, and if it is for you, then listen to your own conscience and
Yeah.
stay. But if like other people, dude, if you can practice
Yeah.
self control,
Yep.
and quotes
I was about to say that,
gamble,
Yeah.
then dude, do it.
But here's the thing: here's the thing: guard your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be honest enough
Know
to guard your heart,
yourself.
and
Know
And because
yourself.
you also have
you also have a
Proverbs-
community.
wealth gained hastily
That's
surely shall come to ruin.
That's
or something
exactly
like
right,
that. So
yes.
it's like, okay, so
Mm.
if you're doing it to get rich quick,
Yep, dumb.
Probably
that's
better.
dumb,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Stupid.
But I mean, let's put it this way: like, if we doing a March Madness bracket,
I'll put $10 down.
yeah, if we put money in
Yeah.
on it, it's so much more fun.
It is. Yeah.
if
yeah.
there's no money on it, it's not fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
we
could
we,
care
we were
less
going.
about
We
it.
all went on a golf trip. Me and my dad and some of his friends. I was like the young guy that got invited, and like we would literally just play for like $5.
Yeah.
And it was
It's
a blast.
fun.
It was
It's
a blast.
so much
Me and my
fun. So
father-in-law, we
funny.
play a game of quarters, and it was like if you hit a fairway, you get a point. If you hit a green or rose, you get a point. All
Yeah.
this stuff, and you really play for quarters. So at the end of the day, if you win by
$2.
9 points,
Yeah.
then that means you win $2.25.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's
Sounds
just
like
it's just
fun.
fun.
We need to have
Like, it's
more of a
just-
conversation,
Snicker bar.
Justin. I see the excitement in your
It's
eyes.
I know,
just fun.
maybe there's a-
yeah. Be
Like,
careful,
whoa.
brother.
Hey, hey, what's that 1-800 number? But if you have a problem, call 1-800.
Yeah.
No, but in
Um,
all seriousness, I think to exactly your point, I think it's similar of
Yeah.
I'm losing any other example, but gambling, alcohol, are you know yourself? Like I think that is just an essential aspect and a
Yes.
part of growing up.
That's
and
exactly
just
right.
Becoming older
And-
And I would
realizing
exactly. And so, married men, is your wife cool with it? If your wife's not cool with it, don't gamble.
huge
Yeah.
huge
There you go.
aspect. Yes.
Yeah.
18-year-olds that are living with your parents.
Are your parents okay
parents
with
cool
it?
with it? If you turn 18, they're like, go get a lottery ticket. You're like, sweet.
See, I'm serious.
But if
because
they're
then-
like, do not do that, then
but here's the
yeah.
thing. But if they say no, don't do it, and you go, how? It's like,
Yep. Yep.
you are one step away from having a problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've only
That's
I bought one Powerball ticket in my life. I was how funny is this? I was preaching at a youth camp, and
So, Mom,
and I
Justin
go
said
into
I-
I
It's fine by
no
me.
that doesn't count. That doesn't count. So
Water.
I go into the gas station to get ice because me and Courtney I got
That's so
pizza,
good.
And I don't keep up with the Powerball, whatever, but it was that time when it was like it got like 1.3 billion.
Oh, yeah.
Billion
Let's
with a
get
B.
in there, dude.
And literally, I walk in, and the line is like to the back of the gas station. I'm like,
People
I'm
getting
like,
tickets?
yo, what's happening?
What?
And it didn't take long for me to realize, like, oh, the Powerball's like 1. And I'm like, sure, I'll buy a ticket. Why not, man?
Yeah.
It was really fun planning
Dude,
what we were going to do that
funny
night.
story. We're driving, and Vassar and Mackenzie. For those of you who don't know, Vassar's my oldest son. Mackenzie's my daughter-in-law. Oh, they're wonderful. And but we're talking about this, and the question comes up. So Dad, if y'all like, we don't even play the lottery, but if we did, but you won like the Powerball, blah blah blah, what would you do?
Such a
And
fun
what they're
hypothetical.
like, here we go. And so I said, probably what I would do, and check this out. You guys are probably going to respond the same way. I said, probably what I would do for you boys is I would determine what you could, by your income, afford as far as a house goes, and I would pay the down payment for it. It was like I slapped everybody in the car.
You jerk.
It's like, I'm sorry. I'm not going
I
to set
want
you up in
to-
a house you can't pay the taxes for.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Down payment.
Well, I told Courtney, me and Courtney,
Pay like a 50% down payment. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I'm
And
good
they
with
were
that.
like, what, Daddy? You can. And even Tracy looked at me. I was like, I'm sorry. What did I do wrong? I thought I was being very
So
responsible.
that night, so we were talking, we were planning what we were going to do because like after taxes, I think the 1.4 billion, they still won like $500 million.
Yeah.
It was something
Good
crazy.
Lord.
It was crazy.
That's
And so me and Courtney, she's like, "What would you like to do?" And I was like, I really would like to think about myself. I don't think I'd want to like, oh, let's buy a mansion. I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Like,
Gotta
but
pay
I would
taxes on
want
it.
I would want to go to first off ourselves, my parents, her parents, my sister, and her 2 sisters, and we just say, hey, like the house you're in, we just want to pay it off for you.
Yeah.
And Courtney was like, you do, bro? She's like, you just like you can't do everybody like that. And I'm like, babe, do you know how much $500 million is? I was like, we probably in like less than 2 million could pay off all 7 of our houses.
That's
know?
right.
And so
Yeah.
it just
Just pay
anyway,
them
it was just funny. So betting,
It's
whatever.
funny. It's funny. I love
Okay.
it. Did we just promote? I'm not
I
sure what
hope
we
we
just
did.
did.
I hope
Where's
you
the
did.
preacher mic cut out?
We
Like, I
will
need to know his
probably-
thoughts.
Land it with a clear statement.
Send
If
all
your-
your
if
comments to
conscience
justin.kinley.
is cool with it, then do it.
If you're what?
If your conscience is not cool with it,
Don't do
not
it.
And if it is cool with it, then make sure you have some very firm boundary lines.
Yes.
And because it is.
Don't make excuses for
Because remember,
self-control is the fruit of the spirit.
that's exactly
True.
right.
Right.
True.
Remember
So
that.
Okay.
true.
Here's a good one. In reference to John 4,
Oh.
okay, or John 2. I'm sorry. This is Jesus turning water into wine. When his mom
Lit.
asked the question, or no, he says, what is it? Just pull it up, Steve. Pull it up.
John
John.
two?
Oh, what
John 2,
what does
4.
this have to do with me, woman?
He calls her woman.
He does.
Yeah,
Jesus
he
kinda-
does.
Quite.
Okay, so on the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana in Galilee. This is the first recorded miracle of Jesus. The mother of Jesus was there. Jesus was also invited to the wedding with his disciples. When the wine ran out, his mother said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, girl." I'm just kidding. What does this have to do? What does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come. So they asked a little 2-part question here. I'll do the first one. Why did Jesus respond to his mother with what seems to be a harsh comment?
I don't think the word was harsh.
I think, not to oversimplify it, but okay.
I think there's a translation.
Did Jesus ever?
Disconnect.
So did Jesus ever sin? No.
Nope.
A command that's so clear in Scripture. Tomorrow night, Grayson, is honor your father and mother.
That's right.
So
He never not.
he
honored
never
her.
did not honor her. So for us, it seems weird.
7?
But I
Or
think you can
6.
hold those 2 together. And be like, okay, it seems weird for us, but he in no way
Yeah,
dishonored.
there's a
It's-
standard. There's a
yeah.
standard you never question.
Yeah.
Because Scripture is pretty clear about it. So then when you see this and you go, how dare you? No, stop. There's probably something else going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Something
would
else.
want to dig into
So what-
what this is culturally, because do not go start calling your mom woman.
No.
Especially if you have a certain type of mother, you're gonna
Oh yeah.
regret it.
You know
that-
Like, on your
You know,
face, bro.
especially if your mother follows Scripture, spare the rod.
Yeah. No.
But
You
I
ain't
think
getting-
it's got to be similar. I don't fully know, but it has to be similar to when he calls the Samaritan woman. You know, we don't give the scraps
to the dogs, to the
Yeah.
puppies. Yeah.
Which was not. I mean, he was not using a derogatory statement toward her. He was pointing to. I can't remember exactly what he was meaning
Yeah,
off
he's
the top
not,
of
he's
my
not
head.
calling her a dog. He's
Yes.
using it as an illustration.
Yes. And so I'm thinking it's got to be along the same cultural lines, or the Greek. I mean, the Greek knowledgeable one. I
Are
don't
you
know.
are you looking for what the actual word is?
I was
and what
trying
the
to-
context of it
I was
is.
trying to just pull up a commentary real quick and just see. I mean,
What it was.
I'm okay with that answer. It's like, man, like
We know it wasn't
if
a sin.
we know
we know
Jesus
it wasn't
didn't sin,
disrespect. We
and
know
he
it wasn't
didn't-
dishonoring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm good with that answer. Personally.
Grayson, are
Y'all-
you good with that answer? That's the question. I don't think you asked it, but
They
is
calling
are
you
you
mama
good with that
woman.
answer?
I have called my mother woman multiple times
Dude,
before.
how dare you.
Yikes!
Just
How did it go
because-
for you?
Oh,
He lived
she
to tell the
laughed
tale?
at it.
Yeah, she's here.
My
Because she
mom's
got a little,
chill.
she got a little chill on that. She
Shout
knew what was
out
happening.
Christy Layden. She's chill.
She
Okay,
knows.
so then the
She ain't
next
scared.
question, the part 2 of that is, since Jesus said to Mary what he did, why did she then tell the servants to do whatever he says to do? And I think the answer is just because she.
Wait, I'm sorry. I was trying to look.
Okay, well, let me read this. This is I'm reading this without having read it first. So Taylor first. The title "woman" used by the Lord need not sound surprising. The word, I guess, gune, occurs many times in the New Testament, usually translated wife or woman. The context determined the rendering that is necessary. Only on a few occasions is the word used title woman. It gives a lot of references. No doubt in our verse, under similar circumstances, the title mother would be used in English, although the Lord avoided using any type of physical relationship when speaking to Mary.
That's
The
true.
30 years of living with her had ended, and he would be in the company of his disciples until death. Similar, it should be noted that the word teknon is often used as the title son, and Antipas uses a little as man. I don't know what has to do. So basically, it's not. He's not using it in a demeaning way.
He's not putting her down.
Yeah, he's not.
He's
putting her
not
down.
calling her out either, right there.
Which I think then leads to, why did she do what Ito did? Because she recognized that he wasn't using her in
No,
a derogatory way. Yeah, he
no.
wasn't doing that.
Because also, we have this in scripture, but there's probably other things, other words, other communications that took place that we don't have reference to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I like it. Johnny.
Sorry. She did. She told them to do what he told them to do.
Yeah.
Because Mary knew. Just so everyone's clear, Mary, did you know? Yes, she did.
my
That was
my family
so
did not appreciate
well
our
placed.
take on that. I was like, well, she didn't know like every detail of what he was gonna do, but like she knew who he was, though. You know, that's
Yeah.
what I'm
Right.
saying. Like that's
If she was a Jewish girl growing up at that time and was in the synagogue, she knew who the Messiah was.
Yes,
yeah,
and she knew what was going to happen
knew.
Yes.
to him.
Okay. I just found this a really interesting question, and I just want to throw it out there. It might be 2 minutes, but my
Yeah,
question
I
seemed
like
to
it.
be taking like
We need a rapid fire. It's okay.
45. Can you really have it all? That's the question.
Can you really?
Can you have it all?
Can you really have it all?
Question is, can you handle it all?
You know what?
Golly.
Going back to the garden.
Wow, dude.
I'm not gonna lie. That was in a weird way. I think some, and not to overanalyze this, but that was a weird reaction I had with Patrick Mahomes' post game interview last night. The dude literally just won the Super Bowl, second in a row, and I mean, like the second or third question out of the reporter's mouth was, "Is this a dynasty?" And he at first says, "Yeah," but he says, "But then we're not done. We're going for 3."
Yep.
And I mean, I'm just like, let's analyze that for just a second, and not to overthink it. But I'm like, dude, when is it enough?
Well, you've heard Brady
saying?
on this, right?
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's something different. Like he never could.
Well, he was asked after his fifth, maybe something like that. Still 2 more than Mahomes at that point. He was asked after his fifth or something, and they like it's a haunting thing. It's like a sit down interview type thing several
Right.
weeks after a Super Bowl, and they said basically along the lines of, when you're on that podium and you're holding the Lombardi Trophy, like, do you like what is it? What are you like? What is that like? Like how now you've won 5? Like how is it and all that? And he basically is like, is this all there is? Like this can't be it. I mean, he literally, like, you can look it up. You can look up the YouTube clip. Like, he says, this can't be it.
He should read
Right.
Ecclesiastes.
He should.
He should, because the other part of it, I would say, and maybe it's just if I was in that situation, I don't know how I would react, but if
Winning
you're
the Super
playing,
Bowl?
yeah, that might happen. But if you won the game and you won the championship, the answer I would say would be, as long as I'm playing, I'm gonna play to win.
Yeah.
So how many? As long as I'm playing, I'm gonna play to win.
Joe Burrow, baby.
I'm gonna play to
Yeah.
win.
The
I just do
the
think there
window
is
my career.
I think there is something too though, and the Swamp Kings with Urban Meyer, we were talking about that, had this where
Mm.
Urban Meyer's like, after he won their second one, he was literally in the private coach's office while his team is celebrating the national championship. He is on the phone with recruits for next year.
Yep.
Got to get back to it.
And I don't know. I think there is
I think
some
celebration,
I think there is some analysis of like, I don't know. Can you ever have it all? It's like,
And I would even say this, because and for me,
Mhm.
because this is where it gets personal with me. The win was playing.
Mm.
I just, so for me, winning a championship was great. We always went for that, but I just enjoyed.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
to do this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that's the part where I would say to folks like that, and I think Purdy even kind of alluded to that. He's like, it's kind of like the thing where, like, the Lord allows me to do this, I'm going to do
I've
it.
already won, bro.
Mhm.
I've already won.
Yeah, I've already won.
So now let's just play,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Championships are come and go.
Loser. Yeah, so-
I've already won.
Yeah.
Loser. That's what
That's why you didn't
losers
take home a
say.
trophy.
Why did I joke?
That's what losers
Lame.
So
say.
can you really have
Hey,
it all? I would
think
say
Purdy played upward basketball.
I would say in eternity.
I would say in eternity in Christ you can right now.
Eternity in Christ. I don't
Yeah.
even know what you mean by that. That was my question.
Trying to
Like,
ask
what do
an
you mean?
existential question.
What do you mean?
Can you
Do
really
you mean
have it all?
Can
what
you have it
what
all?
Jesus has to offer in this life? Yes, you can.
And you
You
already
can't
have
have
it.
it
the
all.
world standard
you have
Now
of it
work
all.
out your salvation with fear and
Is it?
trembling.
Can I have a thriving relationship with Christ? All the money in the world, all the Ecclesiastes, the girls, the drink, the gambling,
it
the
all?
sex, no, because you'll reach the end of it.
Yeah, you
And
can.
Well,
realize-
You really can't.
Well, or you can, but you're going to find that's not what you want.
And then
Yeah.
what you find out is, oh wait, that's not it.
Yep.
That wasn't all. Oh, there's more.
There you go.
Mm.
Brad?
Come on, Brad, give us a good
This
question.
is,
All right, all
this is
right.
My final question.
All
This your
right, all
final
right,
one?
all
My
right.
final question is this.
We're doing pretty good.
I
We're
know,
doing
I know,
good.
I know. God gives us free will, but isn't the Tower of Babel taking away some of it?
I think Brad
Where
would,
do you- wait,
Brad
hold
would
on.
fight that.
So,
first.
question: Where does it tell us that God gives us free will?
Yeah,
And you're going to need to repeat the question.
I know. Listen, it doesn't matter, Steve, what it says, because I know that He does.
There you go. There
Okay.
you go. I'm
And
just-
isn't the Tower of Babel taking away some of it? I really don't
That's
know
fascinating.
what that's. Is
Huh.
it so? This is one because we always say like we never answer the questions or think about the questions.
Somebody
But I
says
told Samantha, my wife, last night. I was like, somebody asked this question. I was like, I don't really know what the heck that means. And she was like, well, like the Tower of Babel, like like they came together and then God like dispersed
He
them.
mene them.
Yeah.
So like
He
God
made
made
them
them, and I was
disperse.
like, oh, okay, that's what they're
Yeah,
after.
how dare he make you
Uh,
do something?
So I think the question could be if you wanted to attack it
Sorry.
in two different, not attack it, just approach it in two different ways. Like one, define free will. Two, Tower of
Mhm.
Babel. What was that all about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little quick statement. Your free will never outplay God's will.
Where's John Calvin in this room?
I don't know. Is he here? So
Preacher's
does that make sense?
there.
Your free will
I hope
will
Eli's
never
listening.
outdo God's free will,
Right.
because God's will is He's the because here what is the other part? He's the only true free creature.
Right.
He's not a creature. He's the only true free.
Right.
Truly free.
Right.
Because His will is not bound by anything.
Huh.
And the fact that we have free will was created by Him.
Right.
That's a created thing by the God who created everything.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would say, yeah,
That's such an interesting example to draw from immediately
Yeah, it
because
is.
I
Tell me.
not Pharaoh,
I've
the
never thought about
the
Babel.
sons
yeah.
of Eli, the
yeah.
They're probably
Judas.
reading it, and you know what I mean. Maybe I'm
They
not.
just
Yeah.
because He did. He basically
No, I mean
said,
good
y'all are
on this
done.
think you're
person.
right.
Good
Yeah.
on this
Yeah.
person for
Yeah.
reading scripture and asking,
Ask
Amen.
questions, man.
ask
then,
deep questions.
So then the cool thing about it is obviously God did it, which means God does it. God does it. He has done it, can do it.
Mhm.
And both of those things exist at the same time. You are free, but He is free.
Yeah.
He is sovereign.
Yeah.
You're responsible.
Well, God also
Mhm.
did that to because the original purpose was to be fruitful and multiply
Mm.
and fill the earth to the
And they
ends
were
of the earth.
yeah.
They wanted to
Mhm.
stay put.
Mhm.
And so God, by his sovereign grace, destroyed the possibility of setting up camp at
Right.
one place.
Mhm.
Because
and
his
building
purpose.
a tower that reached the heavens.
'Cause what's his
supposed to go to
purpose?
the ends of the earth.
Because
So,
like the waters cover this.
And let's
Yep.
put it that way. In that regard, I'm
Woo,
glad he did that
me
because
too.
the gospel wouldn't have came to Waxhaw, North
Thank-
Carolina.
Amen,
That
preach
would
it.
never happened.
Preach,
You know
preach
what
it.
I'm trying to say?
But then we see kind of the future possibilities of that dispersing, diversifying, whatever in Acts 2,
That's right.
where
Yeah.
they're able to speak in their own
So they're
languages and
coming
all
back
understand.
together. That's right.
And
But
that's
then-
what, and then Revelation 7, that's what we'll see one day.
But somebody help me with this guy because
Yeah.
Acts 2, keep going.
Uh-huh.
Is there a move where they try to stay together
Yep.
and God says, okay,
Yeah.
and he brings the persecution and they run for their lives?
Stephen
Right.
Evans.
Saul.
Yeah,
Seems
dude.
like-
Yeah.
He
No, I
brings the
think,
hammer down.
Like, the
Yeah.
hammer coming.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That is a good
I
question.
think, yeah.
Read your Bible. Good job reading your Bible, people.
like it.
Yeah.
Best childhood TV show.
Oh, SpongeBob. Easily.
You SpongeBob guy?
That was quick.
Oh,
dude.
huge
That was so
SpongeBob
quick.
guy.
Best-
Oh, well, it's because of the Super Bowl they were showing.
Man.
Like-
Slime cast or whatever.
Well, I just saw a couple of clips on
That was so
ESPN,
funny,
like
though.
when Christian McCaffrey fumbles and Patrick's like, firmly grasp it. like SpongeBob, you have to firmly grasp it.
Shout out to Macy, dude.
Oh,
Macy
sorry.
loves SpongeBob. You know about Macy? She loves SpongeBob. If you're ever in the car with her and you mention, hey, there's that road, she'll go, road.
Oh my
Road.
gosh.
Yeah, that episode. Yeah.
I don't know at that level,
Yeah.
but I think
SpongeBob,
that'd be
right.
my top.
That's so good.
SpongeBob, my two favorite episodes. Oh my gosh, dude. I love
There's so many of them.
much the Sea Bear episode. Holy
Oh,
cow, it's
drawing the
hilarious.
circle.
Have you seen that? He has to draw he draws a circle to protect the sea bear, and Squidward thinks that he's just dumb, you know. So Squidward starts running, the sea bear attacks him. SpongeBob goes, he hates running, and Squidward just starts jogging. He hates jogging too, and like he's gonna attack. And then Squidward tries to draw a circle. He's like, that's an oval.
Yeah.
And then he says, what did I do that time? He says, I don't know, maybe he doesn't like you. You know? And then I love the Man Ray one when Patrick loses his wallet.
Oh my God, that's not my wallet.
Guys, that's not my wallet. This says
It's like
Patrick Star. Are you Patrick Star? Yup. I saw you drop it. Yup. It says, so this will make sense to your wallet. Makes sense to me. So take it. It's not my wallet.
There's just, I think it is the most like memeable.
It's so good.
The Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, where it's like, you want to see me run to that rock and back? Want to see me do it again? And then like, oh man, I think it's just endless like
Yeah,
hilarity.
yes.
Anyway, sorry.
Childhood TV show. It wasn't SpongeBob for me. I mean, I watched SpongeBob.
You weren't allowed?
No, I
Oh.
watched it. It just wasn't SpongeBob for me. Probably, and this is a weird one because it was kind of phasing out, and I guess it wasn't that popular. So it was just, but I was so excited when I caught it on TV. Was Rocket Power?
I was
Oh, dude,
just
Rocket
thinking
Power's
that too.
I loved
Power.
Rocket Power.
My
Rocket
favorite
Power is
cartoon.
That was your favorite cartoon?
Favorite cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah, Rocket Power was so fun.
Woogity,
Yeah, Rocket Power was so fun. What's your favorite one?
When I was growing up.
Old Man in here.
That's true. It's gonna be about to do an old man.
Probably like
but-
Andy Griffith or something.
No,
Yo,
no.
I love Andy Griffith. Bro.
Andy
I
Griffith's
love-
great.
Yes.
Andy Griffith's
Andy
great.
Griffith is a great show.
But
Ron
there's
Howard.
two. There was one that my dad and I used to watch, which was interesting because if you knew my dad, this would be such a head fake. My dad loved Bob Ross, and we would sit and watch Bob Ross.
Oh, that's funny.
And literally, we would sit in the living room watching it on PBS. And both me and my dad, who's a firm, hardworking, he would be like, "Whoa."
I love that.
When it happens, you know, everybody knows when you watch Bob Ross,
Yeah.
there's a moment when it happens, and you're
That's
like,
really good.
"Whoa!"
I love that.
And then the other one was Little House on the Prairie
Okay.
because
yeah.
Paul was the best man.
Yeah.
Paul was a superhero.
Dude, one time, Courtney, we just started dating pretty early. We went over to my grandma's house for dinner, and it was all of our family. And we started to watch Andy Griffith. And we were just like, remember that time Andy did this? And we're talking about, remember that time Barney? And we got in the car, driving back. She's like, you realize your family just talked like Andy and Barney as if they were part of the
your
family.
'Cause
And I
they
said,
are.
they kind of were. You know what
They
I'm saying?
kind of are.
I still love when Barney, he's like, here at The Rock, we have a few rules. Number one, obey all rules. I love that scene. I love that scene. Are you done? You have more questions?
Oh, he didn't answer.
Oh, what favorite? Yeah,
I
you said
can
Rocket
give
Power,
you,
didn't you?
Come
no,
on,
it's
bro.
like my favorite cartoon. I mean, it's like a toss-up, dude. It's like between like 5. We would watch Full House, Family Matters,
Yeah.
Full House is
Fresh
good.
Prince, Boy Meets World,
Oh,
Home
Fresh-
Improvement. Like all
Fresh
those.
Prince.
Boy Meets World so good.
Boy
Me,
Meets
me
World
and
was
shout out to
good.
Will Melton. We love watching Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
Feeney.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we'd watch all those.
Uh,
I love the one that's so bad. I love the one when Eric dates the witch. You know
Oh,
that?
yeah,
He
yeah.
doesn't know. He doesn't know she's a witch. And
Completely
it's so
clueless.
funny. It's probably a bad recommendation, but it's so funny.
He
Man.
wasn't the sharpest.
gambling,
It's so funny.
witches.
Gambling and witchcraft.
What are
Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
hey, we
what
have
are
an
doing?
episode title coming together: "Gambling Witches in Eden." There you go. That's
There you
what
go.
it is.
Oh, there you go, dude.
Man, wow.
We're
I'm glad I'm on this one.
Will there be gambling in the
All right, are you done? You have one?
Yeah, I'm done.
You done? You
Are
done?
you done? Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I have a couple.
Rapid fire.
Well,
Come on.
there's only like
Phew.
one, two.
Really
Let's stay in that vein though. What games did you grow up with?
Like
What kind of games? Oh, you mean like board games? Like board games?
That's what they said. What games did you grow up
I
with?
grew up with a game where an adult in my life would go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal and then throw it in a blender and make us drink it.
That was a great game. Chris Alexander, if you're
disgusting.
watching this, good job, man.
Is it gambling to play the Monopoly at McDonald's? Remember that? Remember
Ooh.
Monopoly?
Oh, dude.
that was fun.
Yo,
That was
you
really
know what I'm
fun.
talking about? Oh wow, we're
They need to
old.
bring that back.
Monopoly
They
used
brought
to,
it back.
McDonald's
They
used to do this thing where
They should bring
anytime
it
you
back.
bought
That was
like
really
a
awesome.
medium or a large fry or a large drink, it had a
They were off.
sticker and you could peel it off and it was you were playing Monopoly. So you had a little board, and if you
Dude,
got
and
Parks
people
Place
win.
and Boardwalk,
Yes, yes, yes.
you won like $1
Crazy.
million.
Seriously. And so it was
I mean,
all
very, very few though, and they probably had like
and there was
all the Parks Place were probably in Texas,
That's
and the
true.
Boardwalk was
Right.
in New York.
and
But
you,
like,
but to
you can
keep
win
you
free stuff,
going
though.
because to keep you going, you'd pull
Free
out and you get
Diet
like free
Pepper.
Coke,
Yep.
free fries, just to keep.
It was cool.
That was really cool.
that's great,
People were putting together. It was awesome.
genius marketing. Okay, childhood games.
Like, that's definitely not the question.
Yeah,
but,
childhood games.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
used
played
to
front yard football
Oh, dude, I got to one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Front yard
I
football.
mean, for sure.
all the
yeah.
time.
The most fun was playing sneak. We would play as like hide and go seek in the dark. It was like the
Yes.
cool thing. And you have teams. That was
love
like
that.
the go-to.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I would say my childhood games. I mean, just pick up basketball, man. Just playing basketball in the backyard,
Go outside,
in the
people.
driveway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're doing the podcast.
manhunt.
Dude, yeah.
Oh, hey, is the wife on here?
You wanna say hey?
Hey Sam,
Baker, can you say hey? Say hey, Baker.
Hey, Sam. This is the first ever woman we've had on the podcast.
hey,
Congratulations!
You should be on.
Wow.
Hey, love you.
Yeah, childhood games. I'm just playing outside. Man.
yeah, playing outside.
I
was
mean,
huge.
playing outside.
Johnny's
man,
thinking
if we're
playing
talking-
outside's overrated.
No, I played outside a bunch. I mean, I bet at football. I was playing football with my friends all the time. I'm trying to think though. Like, I immediately went to board games, but now I'm thinking video games. Like, I was a big video game guy
Skyrim.
as a
Remember
kid.
Skyrim. That was like high
That's
school. I
not
remember Skyrim.
childhood.
That was
We were in
Skyrim.
high school.
Tecmo Bowl.
Um,
I wasn't a big video.
I
game
remember
guy.
like Mario 64,
No,
like
Nintendo 64 was the bomb.
Legend of Zelda.
That was fun.
But the first thing my mind went to is whenever I would go to my grandparents' house, we would always play Clue.
Ooh,
Love that.
Did we play Skip-Bo?
Skip was going.
Oh,
Skip-Bo
yeah.
was fun.
We played Rummy a lot. The mountains.
Dude, Rummy was
good.
great. Yeah,
Rummy was
Rummy
good.
was fun.
but we, I think if you ask my boys now, we still play a game called Pig Out.
Yes.
You ever
Yeah.
play Pig Out?
Yeah.
I played that with you the first
Yes.
time I met you
Isn't it
at
great?
Outback.
You just throw. You have these two little rubber pigs, and there's points based
Dude,
on how
and
they land.
Vassar
That's
was
awesome.
hype
What
for
did we
that
play it with
game.
me,
It's
you,
great game.
in the hotel room at Charleston? Did we play
Oh,
Rummy?
yeah.
Is that what we were playing? Rummy.
played Rummy, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay.
Play games together. People.
What
It's
is
fun.
the yeah for real? What is the least read book of the Bible and why?
Song of Solomon because it's awkward.
Good answer.
Straight
Good
up?
answer.
I agree.
You know what though? I think maybe so, but like when we mentioned Jude earlier, I guarantee at least everyone knows like a little bit of what Song of Solomon's about.
True.
Like, I
But
bet
Jude.
is a very, very
It's
not read one.
Like Nahum or something. Like
Yeah, the minor
Yeah,
prophets
Minor
aren't
Prophets.
read much.
Amos.
People read
Lamentations.
Jonah. We know Jonah.
We know John. Everybody's
Yeah.
preaching.
We
Jonah.
know Hosea. We know those, but like we don't know.
Or like Leviticus or something.
No.
Yeah,
Any of those.
that's the one that most. That's probably the most began, but then
Not
forgotten,
finished.
but-
That's right. Yeah, I
Incomplete.
I started.
Leviticus is killing more Bible reading plans in a year. Than
That's
yeah,
right.
It's
exactly.
So what am I
Um,
doing? Skin
Then
disease and where?
Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer. I'll go
It'd
with
be
Jude.
any-
I'll go with Jude.
It'd be any combination of those, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I'll go with Jude.
I would, if I were to be serious, I think it'd probably be one of the minor prophets.
Yeah, I think so.
Just
It's
a lot of the old.
It's
Old
definitely not
Testament.
Revelation because everybody's reading Revelation.
It's
Yeah,
definitely Old
yeah.
Testament.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I know.
Is that thing even worth anything?
Speaking of Jude,
that is a joke.
we
by the way,
we
that is
put
a
in to
joke.
get Andy on the podcast, and he's never responded.
Don't
Did
unhitch.
y'all listen to Ghost Ship?
I like Ghost
Did
Ship.
y'all listen to Ghost
You
Ship?
know,
The
you know what
music-
Ghost Ship is?
Yes, I was
I know,
there
you,
when
you introduced me to
yeah.
Ghost Ship. Yeah, you didn't respond. I was wondering.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I just took it as a
Ghost Ship. They have a song. I think it's the title's Doxology. I think, but they
Uh-huh.
sing the Book of Jude, and it's really good.
It's
so if
sick.
you want to basically memorize like the main themes of the Book of Jude, go memorize.
They also have a
Doxology.
song, "Where Were You?"
Oh, Job
and
38.
that it's Job.
You know what, dude? I learned a new thing about Job.
Yes, I know
What?
that song.
And I it was from my Old Testament professor. I was telling you
Yeah.
how much I liked him. And this, I feel
Shout out
bad
to
for I feel
professors.
bad for saying this because I know I've read through the book of Job before, and it just never hit me. Job has 3 friends.
Yes.
Another dude shows up in 36 and 37,
Uh-huh.
and I can't, what's his name? I mean,
I have no idea what his name is.
but basically, he basically starts telling Job and his friends, "Yo, like the Lord's about to show up, and he's about to defend himself and answer." And almost like I thought about this, and this might be a stretch that's not there. Almost like a John the Baptist type preparing the way. Like he shows up, and almost at the end of 37, he's talking, and you get a sense like he mentions the storm cloud is coming, and it's almost like this guy's telling him, and the storm cloud is on the horizon. And then he gets to Job 38, and the Lord answered him out of the whirlwind and said, dude,
That's
36
sick.
and 37 is sick, bro. And I never. Let me look up the guy's name.
Wow.
Go read Job 36 and
I think it's
37.
So what you're saying is he was a
Elihu.
true friend.
Elihu.
He was
yes.
a true friend.
Yes. And it it's really cool, man. I mean, it's a lot. It's very reminiscent to Job 38. Very, very reminiscent. I was trying to see the one real quick when he talks about the storm. But it's really, really, really cool. Go read Job 36,
The
37.
thunder declares his presence. The cattle also his approaching storm.
Yeah, it's like you get a vibe. They're like
36.
you get a vibe. He's talking, and it's like, yo, this
Here it
storm
is.
is coming to distance, and he's like, yo, y'all been talking a lot about God. He's about to speak, and brace yourself like a man. little
My
boy.
heart,
And-
dude,
Gird
this
your
is
loins.
this
it's
is
low,
good,
dude.
man.
It's so good.
My heart pounds at this and leaps from my chest. Just listen to his thunderous voice and the rumbling that comes from his mouth. He lets it loose beneath the entire sky, his lightning to the ends of the earth. Then there comes a roaring sound. God thunders with his majestic voice. Woo,
Bro.
Which
Telling
is
you.
why I love thunderstorms.
Mm.
I
Oh,
love
I'm with
lightning because I'm
It's
like,
God putting on the Ritz.
he's
I love it. I remember that's what I do remember when I preached. Sorry, number 5. I preached from Job 38.
No, that's
number
7.
He
seven.
commands, but he,
7 at this point.
he commands lightning. The Bible says about Job. God asked Job in Job 38. He said, "Do you command lightning bolts to and from, and do they report to you and say, there we were?"
Where were you?
And literally, if you Google how many lightning bolts strike the earth per second,
it's
it's about
ridiculous.
100 per second. And
Wow.
so, according to Job 38, God commands every single one of those where to go, and they report back and say that's where we went.
And so here's the crazy part.
That's insane.
And what's crazy
That's
is
so
some people
cool.
are, well, that's not how science works. I'm like, bro, who you think invented science?
Yeah.
Yep. All
do you-
science is God science.
All it's his science. So guess what? If he says that's what happens, guess what happens?
Ah, it's so cool.
So to take from this, read Job 36 and 37 and listen to Where Were You by Ghost Ship.
This is so good.
One of my
It's
favorite
Practical applications.
one
of
of my
today's
favorite
podcast.
songs ever.
Love it.
I love how it ends because
You
that
taking
song
notes?
is
Good.
just reading Job 38. But
Yep.
then they do
The
do a little.
intensity.
But then it gets to the end. It dies down. And the way they end the song is, I spoke of things I did not understand, things too wonderful for me. And I love this last line. Although I had no right to ask, God knelt and answered me.
That's right.
Dude,
Ah,
and
it's so
it-
good, dude.
I,
Ah, it's
cr-
so
I
good.
that song literally is one of the few
I'm
that'll
literally
make
emotional
me
right now.
cry
Yeah.
almost
Just
every
thinking
time.
about that.
Yeah.
And when he's asking, does the lightning ask you where it should strike?
Yeah. The one song,
Did you?
the one Ghost Ship
Glory
song
to
that almost made me cry.
Glory
I say
to
almost,
God.
it did probably make me cry. They have a song called "Old Sinner," and dude, it is, oh,
This is becoming a music recommendation
Ghost Ship.
podcast.
bro, it's
Does Ghost Ship still make music?
I don't know.
Man, we need to
They
work
are.
that into
That
our,
was a.
we
that
need to
was
work
a-
those songs in our playlist.
That was
in
a
our-
Mars Hill
Yeah.
Yeah.
branch
Yeah, it was good.
with Kings. How have we not brought up Kings
We're
yet?
singing the Bible. Maybe we should work those in.
Okay, so this is so.
Go
let me
listen to
read this
King's
real quick. So I
Kaleidoscope.
know. Do you know the song "O Sinner"? Do you know the song? You know the song?
No.
Okay,
I'm
so
sure
so
I've
this is where
listened to it.
Are you gonna do
I
the whole
remember
thing
the
right
first time
now?
I heard. I'm gonna read you the chorus and bridge. Hang on.
God,
So
dude.
so
I
the
got things to do, man.
chill out. Well, just leave. So the chorus
Just
goes.
leave.
The chorus goes. It repeats. It repeats. Only God can forgive. Only God can forgive sin. Come now, God can forgive. Come now, God can forgive sin. And then the bridge is wider than the snow, wider than the ocean, farther than the east is from the west. He'll take our sin and make us wider than the snow, wider than the ocean, farther than the east. And then the chorus 2 just belts out, we have been forgiven. We have been forgiven. We have been forgiven. And in the last outro, the music dies down and it's basically just vocals. And it says, oh, brother, lift up your face, brother. No more disgrace, brother. Just feel his grace, brother. And this is, oh, sister, lift up your face, sister. No more disgrace, sister. Just feel his grace, sister.
Eli Blaylock, if your hands
So
aren't in the air right now,
Good.
You are
need to
not
rest.
saved.
So good.
You are
It's
not
so
good.
saved.
Man, it's good.
Woo!
Most action-packed book of the Bible.
Judges.
Yeah.
Judges and Kings.
Judges is really good.
Judges probably. Judges is
Every middle
Dude,
school boy should
hard
watch Judges.
hard.
They should read it.
R.
It's awesome. It is.
It is like
It is ridiculous.
bad to the bone,
and
man.
awesome
And
I'll
terrifying.
go with
and
Judges.
terrifying.
I used to would have said Joshua, and then I'm not quitting the sermon. I preached through Joshua, and Joshua 12.
8.
Well, Joshua 12 through 24 is not that like we. I mean,
yeah.
really,
Oh,
there's
just
only
kinda
there's
just-
only
yeah,
Jericho,
yeah.
AI, and what's the one I'm
Yeah.
forgetting?
AI.
Jericho, AI, and then the battle against the 5
Well,
kings, right?
I see it
And
like this. It's like
still
it's
incredible,
like
obviously.
incredible. But Joshua is like a back out 30,000 view of what God's doing. Judges is like up in the sword in your gut.
Here's 12.
Yeah.
And I'm going to
individual
show you all the
stories.
details of
Samson lit 100 foxes on fire and just made PETA mad.
how I just
Burned a whole city to the ground.
boom.
Dude, Samson is like,
Samson's a G.
He's
is he? I don't know. like,
I-
he's kind of disgusting.
I mean,
Like,
he
Yes.
was savage.
that's right.
yeah, yeah.
I
that's for
recommend
sure.
to anyone feeling called to ministry or wrestling with
Oh.
that, go watch J.D. Greer's sermon on Samson.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Good
It's
word.
so it's I make any guy that's thinking about or
Mm.
that's thinking about what does ministry look like, go watch Judges or his sermon on Samson. It's so good because it poses the question. I forgot how he words it, but basically it's like if you don't realize that the greatest threat to your ministry is when you look in the mirror every day.
That's right.
Right. And it's like
Mhm.
Samson does all these things. And like the Bible says, the Spirit of the Lord filled him and came
Yep.
upon him.
Yep.
And it's like, Samson was not living in obedience, but God
Nope.
still used him, which is crazy. Really, really good.
I will add a caveat of another potential answer is not a whole book, but the section that talks about the mighty men of David will get your blood pumping. In the pit with a lion on a snowy day, like what the heck were those guys doing,
That's
man?
so
like,
true.
That's true. That's
uh,
true.
Fight for the
killing the
king.
9 feet tall Egyptians or whatever, like
That's just
dude.
ridiculous.
crazy.
Okay. So you want to go kind of fast with these last two?
Yeah,
They're
let's
kind
go.
of they're kind of serious, but
Ooh.
it's not really.
So as fast
Um,
as we can.
This
That's
one
serious.
says, what does the Bible say about creation being able to cry out? And he's talking about Luke 19:40 when Jesus says the stones will cry out.
Yeah.
But he also mentioned Habakkuk 2:11.
Ooh,
And I didn't know that passage. And I tried to stay true to the podcast theme here. And not look beforehand.
there's one person reading Habakkuk.
Back at what?
2:11.
2:11. No, verse 9 says, woe to him who gets evil gain for his house, to set his nest on high, to be safe from the reach of harm. You have devised shame for your house by cutting off many peoples. You have forfeited your life, for the stone will cry out from the wall, and the beam from the woodwork respond. I think that's a different crying out than Jesus is talking about. I think that's a poetic way of saying,
People know what you've done.
yeah, people know what you're doing. Like you if you build your house on evil stuff, that's going to come to light. You know what I'm saying? But I think Jesus is
It's like if these walls could talk.
Kendrick Lamar. If these walls talk.
No, I was thinking Dawes. Shout out to another Dawes lyric.
Oh.
If these walls could
What's
talk,
the
I defer to the furniture.
what's the refrain Kendrick always says in that
Love
album?
It's so good.
What do you mean?
He tells the story, and how does the story start every time? Oh, no, never mind. I'll think
It's an interview. He closes the album with an interview with Tupac.
What's the phrase I'm thinking
Tupac's still alive.
of? Anyway, he probably is.
Probably.
No, I think creation does cry out. The Bible says the heavens declare the glory of God.
Uh-huh.
Hey,
Right.
also
I don't think
tells
it's
us-
I don't think it's an audible.
No,
I think it's the
Or maybe it is.
existence.
and maybe
just because we don't know, don't mean it ain't.
I'll
You
never
know,
forget when
Louis
we were in
sermon. You ever seen Louis Giglio's sermon on that?
which one?
Just talks about like
The
he
universe.
just the frequency that the universe.
If the Earth
puts
was a
out.
golf ball.
Yeah, it wasn't that sermon, but it was similar to that one.
Hey, Louis, what are you doing?
I do love that message,
Dude,
I
it's
do
still
love it.
it's
I
still
good.
it's a
It's
it's
still
a, it's a
good.
banger.
It still speaks.
It's a good one.
I'll never forget when we were in Baltimore and throwback to that. Were you on that mission trip?
I wasn't
Too young.
I was the next
Oh,
one.
so fun.
I remember being there. It was either there or Detroit, and we were asking you about heaven, and you said what, and it stuck with me. Like, what if there are harmonies that we cannot
Can't hear you.
can't
sure there
hear?
are.
What if
I'm
there
sure,
are
which is
colors that we
incredible.
can't
Can't
perceive
see.
yet, taste that we can't
Wouldn't that
imagine
be
yet?
wonderful?
Hey, we're
It's
gonna
like,
be,
it
you
ha-
know what? We're gonna be running under rainbows. So alive.
Sweet.
You, man,
King Scott is good. That's a King's
About to start speaking.
So
best album, by the way,
So
Beyond
good.
Control.
good.
I don't know what the question
This
was.
this podcast
Creation
is helpful
crying
on
out.
many levels.
Creation does
It's
cry out.
so many.
Yeah,
levels.
creation
I mean,
cries
I'll say
out.
creation does cry out.
But I won't let the rock cry out in my place.
Let the rocks.
Come on,
keep
brother.
singing. You know, the poem Kendrick Lamar does. I remember you. I remember.
I was
I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. That's what it was. All right, last
sometimes
question.
I did the same.
I kind of hate.
Abusing my power, full of resentment. Resentment that turned into a deep depression. Find myself screaming in a hotel room. All right, sorry. I just transported to a place.
Okay,
the
last
evils of
question.
Lucy was
Gosh,
all around me.
I hate that we're doing this question last because we probably should get more time to it. How do you deal with gossip? Go watch the VeggieTales, the rumor weed.
Go watch the veggie.
That's
Tales.
Remember
so
rumor weed?
good.
Remember that?
The white
Yeah.
lie literally scared the crap out of a generation. The fib from outer space.
Oh
It was.
I mean, it's the same. It's
It's
kind,
the
it's
same thing.
similar.
Wow, I don't know.
How do you deal
I
with
don't
gossip,
know.
dude? I mean,
Didn't Preacher preach Sunday?
it was so,
Sunday?
dude. I told someone the other day. Preacher has been, to use a kid,
Laying it.
to use a kid term.
It's so
Preacher has been in his bag in James.
he's been.
Let
so-
the man
so-
cook.
Bro, I told Courtney that James. I
So
think
good.
James is. I'm serious. I think James is my favorite book I've ever heard him preach.
It's
This.
so good.
It just it fits him so well. Of
Yeah.
just, and I mean this in the utmost compliment. It's so just simple.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. Here's what it says. And
Yep. And
do
what
it,
and
and
what
it
it was
just, like,
like,
it's
like
been
Sunday
really
first.
good.
Were you at the 11 or not? Or not
I watched it online. I got
So
to
the-
baptize my niece, man.
Oh, that's
It was cool.
right.
It was
So
really
the
cool.
11 at the end of the 11, what was really cool is we're getting ready to respond and have the sing, and preacher just leads the congregation in just a declaration or a prayer and asking the Lord to help us to apply what we've just read in the
Oh, that's cool.
scriptures. And here's what he's did. He's never, and it was really cool. He literally just stopped and he said, "I think that's how we need to leave the room."
Hmm.
And that was it.
No, that's cool. I like that.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I love that.
Is it bad if I? This sounds bad. If the question is how do I deal with gossip, can I just say, don't?
Mhm.
That's the easiest.
It's not gonna be easy, but it is the easiest thing
Yeah. I
because
mean,
it's gonna be
it's-
tough.
Yeah. I mean,
Because what's the thing? It's like, is the person in the room? You gotta ask questions. Is the person in the room?
Yeah.
Are they there? If you're talking about somebody, can you invite them in to have this conversation if there's an issue?
Yeah.
I think sometimes though there's conversations that involve people that are just conversations.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
what's the purpose of the story? Is it to build a person up or to destroy the person in the other person's eyes? Does that
Or
make sense?
the new version of the new version of like the subtweeting prayer requests, like where you say I got this person, but you really just want to share the information that you know. The new version of that is, well, I just want to talk through it with somebody,
Yeah.
Right.
and I think there is time. I fully believe there's time for that,
100%.
but I think it's asking, is this conversation fruitful?
Right.
Is it serving a purpose? And what are you going to do following this
right.
conversation? Because if you're just here to talk and you don't ever do anything about it,
That's right.
that would kind of qualify it
Yeah.
as gossip to me.
Yeah.
I think.
I think gossip is kind of what we talked about earlier. I think unintentionally, I mean, I think we get addicted to gossiping. Like we just do.
For sure.
We just get addicted to it. And yeah, I mean, I know it sounds really dumb to just say don't. Like, I mean, if you be that leader, be that one that's willing to say, hey, if you're at a lunch table and it starts, like just
Yeah, dude.
yo, we're not talking about that. They not here. We're not talking about
We're
it.
not going
Yeah.
there.
Like
Let's
we're
do
just not going there. Just be man, be woman enough to say, yeah, we're not doing it.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, can lead to a great opportunity to be blessed if the table goes, "Oh, you're just being a stupid Christian," then be blessed.
Yeah.
Because you just got persecuted for Jesus' sake.
Yeah, that's how I would say.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
Don't be a jerk, but just say,
Yeah,
eh.
so, this guess it's okay.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes we need to be a jerk.
Maybe we did.
not be a jerk, but
But
be
you're
like,
right. It's like, yeah.
You
it's
need
like,
to be
yeah.
tough.
You need to be tough.
Because
yeah,
I would
hey,
say
like,
this personally. There's been times when I've been around people that honored that wisdom,
Mhm.
and I knew it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you know what? I see what you're doing, and you know I need to shut up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
you see that wisdom in the room says, yeah, great, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, thank you, Lord, for my friend.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And if you get, that's the point. If you get called out for gossiping,
Yeah,
thank you, friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, friend. Because
Amen.
he or she cares about your soul.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Was there gossiping in Ian, Brad?
I was gonna go with no.
I'm gonna go
There's
with
gossip
no.
going on there.
I love it.
There
That's
was
all the
hide-
questions I have.
There was games, hide and seek. They played hide and seek.
They did. They did
Yeah,
play
they
hide and
did,
seek.
unfortunately.
Johnny, thanks for coming back on, bud.
Johnny,
I'm excited. Thank
You're like, you know
guys.
what I thought about? You're like the, you know,
he's been through twice.
you know, like in a sitcom, you watch, and I don't know if you watch it or not. They laugh at me for how many TV shows I know.
You watch an incredible amount of TV.
But Brooklyn,
Yes,
like Brooklyn
so good.
Nine-Nine, you know, when Daryl in the
I
office,
missed that one.
like his character gets introduced, and then they bring him back in the next season.
no idea.
That's Johnny. Like Johnny,
as long as you
Johnny
don't
was
call me
introduced.
Newman.
No, Johnny was introduced, and then later on, like it was successful. Like the reviews
It
were
was
good.
really
Let's bring
good.
him back.
Let's bring him back.
Round two, let's
The
bring him
reviews
back.
were good.
You know, reviews
This
were
was
good.
a significantly longer podcast, so we'll see how people
Was it
feel
really?
about me. Yeah, y'all said that first one was like one of your shortest ones.
Was it? I forgot.
know.
Yeah,
This one's
one
at
of
the-
y'all
this
had to
one's at
be
the
somewhere.
2:20 mark, right?
Oh, Brad had a tea time because Brad's unspiritual.
Oh, that's
Wow.
right.
Was that- were you here for that?
Stop.
Yeah, and we had just met each other, and I was complimenting you. I said you have the best voice on
He
this
did.
podcast,
It's
not like-
and
it's
then
not
you
like-
just pieced
Oh, I
out.
didn't know. It's not like
Yeah,
Jar
really.
Jar in Star Wars when they bring him in
No.
episode 1. Everyone hates him, so they like he basically has no role in episode 2. Like,
Yeah.
Johnny's like,
Yeah.
no, it was good. Let's be here for longer. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
thank you. I'm not Jar Jar.
Jar Jar?
That'll be the end of it. Eden and Jar Jar.
Eden and Jar Jar.
Mace Windu.
What's that?
No, for real.
Mace
Thank you
Windu,
guys.
not Jar Jar.
Mace
Yeah.
Windu.
So I'm gonna die, but everybody's gonna wait for me to come back anyways.
That's
Oh,
right. So, as I said,
Yeah, thank you guys.
thank you
Deuces.
guys. Love
Thanks for
y'all.
being here,
See ya.